All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again for another night of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, Welcome to Advantage in Paradise, where we play Dungeons and Dragons actual play live stream. This is our fifth session, our fifth episode. Thank you for sticking with us or joining us new. Um, we are going to jump right into it. Audio tonight is brought to you by a combination of Tabletop Audio and Sirenscape. So please enjoy that. But let's just get right into it, guys.
Okay.
All right. Last we met, our band of travelers investigated the Temple Hall of the Circle of Ash Druidic Order, searching these dark halls for any evidence about the Archdruid Orlan's insidious rituals. In doing so, the party split. Well, split from Wiswick. Through the storage and kitchen space, a locked passage led down to what appeared to be a magical darkness. A sigil stone held by Curon allowed him safe passage through the darkness. With his comrades, they chose to push through to discover another locked door with a small barred window, where they could see small forms, humanoid forms, shifting back and forth on the other side. It was not long before these forms noticed them and viciously came running at the door to reveal themselves to be the undead, fungally infected forms of the druids who once populated this hall. This this frightening visage truly shook them to their core, save Huron, who stepped closer to investigate to find exactly the nature of these creatures. They seemed like a new form of undeath that he had not seen before. Seeing as they were, for the moment, safe, they decided to retreat back upstairs and eventually tell the authorities of the fungus zombies in the basement. They decided instead to come upstairs, and some of them searched for their party member, Wiswick, who had been upstairs where he had found the Archdruid Orlan's personal quarters and some evidence of his experiments, not after being electrified by some of the magically warded doors in Archdruid Orlan's home or quarters. Within this space, Wiswick found a strange fungal plant growing within a terrarium. As the party joined him, they began searching the quarters more heavily, and they found all manner of trinkets, a silver magical bell, the key to unlock a journal that Kieran had found downstairs, and other trinkets. While up there, Wiswick and Scarlet decided that they would destroy some of the evidence of the Archdruid's experiments, burning much of his reagents and herbalist supplies on his experimental table. The party then began to retreat back downstairs, but our friend Timber decided to stay up in the room. Scarlet and him had a little exchange trying to get him to come with her, but he decided he wanted to stay. And staying, he witnessed the two guards come in and find an additional area that the party did not, where they found an altar with several trinkets upon it. They later took those trinkets with them, and Timber himself decided to investigate this altar. He found much of it had been scraped away, and you could see that it was perfectly aligned with a window to allow the sun to hit it just right to provide light at this hour. Rejoining one another downstairs, Cal had noticed, as the party was searching upstairs, he witnessed a half-elven woman, dark bronze skin, a shaven head, and wearing the acolyte garb of the Circle of the Ash, being carried out of the temple by some of the guards. They told him that she was kept in the prison down below. Though she seemed to be a member of the order, she was not being treated very well at this time. She was being brought back to the barracks for further questioning to see exactly what happened to her. When the group rejoined one another in the main hall of the temple hall, uh, Huron and Wiswick took one last trip down into the basements to observe where the druid woman was being held. It is there that they found several carvings on the walls referencing gnawing, biting, pallid king, several different things that were relevant to Huron. They also found two books that had been laid there. One was the history of the Circle of Ash, and the other a book in mixed languages, some common, some harsh language incomprehensible to the group. That was about the Pallid King. Next, the group decided at this point that they needed to move on, and they began walking into the city. They decided they needed to get rid of this fungal plant that Wiswick had found. Currently, it was disguised as they left as a stuffed owl bear to keep the guards from seeing them walking out with one of the Archdruid's experimental plants. When they got it outside, they found an alleyway where they began a controlled burn of it, hoping that no one had eyes on them at this point. At this same time, Huron had decided that he needed to speak with this druid woman immediately, and began charging towards the barracks where he knew she was being held, much to the duress of Cal, who all he wanted to do was go to the supposed feast that was going to be had this evening in honor of your victory. He chased after Huron and was split, unsure of what to do, in the middle of the courtyard between Huron, who completely ignored his forewarnings and charged forward, heading straight towards the two guards at the front of the barracks, and returning to his Cal was unsure if he should follow Huron or return to his friends who were burning the fungus plant in the alley at the time. And that's where we ended our last session. That's where we'll pick up today. So
I'm torn. Sorry to cut you off, Sean. I wanted that in. Did you do say anything else?
No, you can jump right in.
How far back are the people that the fungus plant burners?
I'd say they're at least so like you're at least 50 feet away from the edge of the courtyard you're in right now, and they're about probably like 20 feet inside in one of the alleyways.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna follow Huron, and I'm gonna be like, well, all right, buddy. Like I'm with you on this one, but let's handle this quickly then, I guess.
Huron, you're walking directly towards the front of the barracks, where you do see two guards sort of in that same position you've seen them before on the two edges of the tall towers on the edge. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to do as you approach them? Because they have taken notice of you. They're not coming forward aggressively, but they are sort of standing at attention at this point.
Huron would raise like a hand, like in a type of like greeting gesture. Excuse me, gentlemen, a young druidess was brought here from the Archdruids, or from the Druids' Long Hall. I'd very much like to speak with her if it's available. May I enter the barrack? Not really slowing down, but not really stopping.
Yeah, sort of walking as they sort of come close to you. You're sort of like continuing up the steps while saying these things, sort of in a polite way.
I'm right behind him. I'm with him.
Okay. So the guards look to each of you, and they've seen you before. They know that you've worked with the captain at this point. You see one of them. He's a younger man, clean shaven, bright blue eyes. We were waiting for the captain to return. Is the conflict over entirely?
It is. I believe they're just cleaning things up now. While they take care of that, I would very much like to speak with this woman. I believe she can help us solve many a mystery at...
Well, they brought her in not too long ago. She looked real bad.
Right. Where did they bring her?
I thought they were going to bring her to the brig, but prison. But It seems they brought her up to one of the dormitories to be seen by one of the medics.
Very good then. I'll just go see her now. And Kieran moves to the door to
W-
walk.
Wait, do you have permission of the captain to speak with this prisoner?
I
And
believe
implied
so.
one, yes.
What was that?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Kieran is now like hand on the door, if possible, like just walking in.
I'd like you to give me
Yeah.
your choice between a persuasion check
Yeah.
and a intimidation check. Just sort of a, and not like intimidation like I'm scaring you, but intimidation like confidence, like overconfident, having more confidence than they can handle.
Both of us are
I would say since you're helping him, either each of you or one of you with advantage.
Hey Tim, what's your charisma modifier like?
my char is a fat +1, but I have persuasion as a
You get that advantage. You get that advantage.
thanks, buddy. Let's see. It's a 15.
All right, nice. So so the guard looks kind of keeping an eye on Kieran, who's now at the door essentially, but sort of like looking back between Cal and Kieran. Like, oh, well, at least let my partner here bring you, escort you inside, bring you to the prisoner.
Of course, no need to break protocol for us, you know.
Very appreciated.
Go with them. Stay with them. All right. Carry on. You see his partner steps forward, and he walks up the steps to join Kieran and opens the door for him and lets him in.
Oh my god, thank
I'd like to check back in at the alleyway right now, where you are now, two of you and Timber standing around the singed husk of this terrarium. You know, the glass sort of shattered as it fell to the ground when you opened it up. The mushroom itself singed, seemingly innocuous now, just a pile of ash.
Timber's gonna give just a stare right at Wiswick. Not disappointed or angry or anything, just a stare. The pup staring at a note.
Do you think we got it all?
I hope so.
You
Why
sure
is it- What?
Are we just gonna leave this here?
I mean, we did all we could do. I mean, if it causes any problems, I mean, it could have been a lot worse.
That's okay.
Why is your dog staring at me like that?
I honestly have no idea.
Hmm.
Did you see where the others went? I thought they were right behind us.
Huron said something about talking to the druid lady that they had tied up. He seemed really, into it. Strangely.
Right.
I've never seen him so focused on about something before.
Suppose we should go figure what that's all about, yeah?
I guess, but I mean, we've gone through a lot. I'm kind of pooped. I mean, my tummy kind of hurts from last time. I think we should take a nap.
I think we should too. That'll be in order, but I don't think we should leave them to it. I think we should be together.
All right, maybe, yeah, you're right. We should stick together. I've been going off on my own too much lately.
But you learned so much. Very resourceful.
Well, I mean, I am the greatest wizard of all time.
That you are.
All
Shall we
right,
go?
yeah, let's go find them.
Okay. Then we start walking towards the barracks.
Okay. Easy enough. I mean, they weren't too far from you. You found a fairly hidden alley, but it wasn't too deep into the cluster of shops and I mean, it's a fairly simple circular courtyard. When you step out into the courtyard, you don't see them at all. You do see over across at the barracks there is just one guard there left. But you know exactly what he was going for, as Wiswick said. So what would you like to do? How would you like to approach?
So walk right up.
Gone.
Yeah.
As we're walking up, I just would like to think about this. If the guards that would have taken the book from that altar behind the curtain in that room, would I be able to kind of guess where they would be taking those items? Would it be the barracks?
You can give me an insight check for that.
Okay. Fine, that's a fucking 3.
I mean, you at the very least would know that the guards are part of the barracks, so it presumably could be a place they bring it, but you're not sure.
Okay. I'd like to keep an eye out for one of the guards that
You saw.
Yes, that I saw.
All right, well then just give me a general perception check.
Okay, yeah, I just meant like as we travel, but I just imagine that would be my passive perception. I can roll for it too. 15?
No. No, I'll gladly take your passive perception.
Okay, it's 15.
This is a good time for me just to get everyone's written down. What's everyone's passive perception? Kieran?
17.
Up so much. Wiswick?
A solid 10.
Nice. Scarlett?
14.
And Cal?
That would be around 12.
Nice. All right. All right. So when you approach the guard, he's just sort of standing there by himself, leaning against the wall, having just let Cal and Huron in. He looks to the rest of that traveling companionship, and just sort of you see immediately. Greetings, adventurers. I presume you want to go inside too.
If it's not too much trouble, yes, we'd like to rejoin our companions.
Well, I'm sure you're not too far behind them, so go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Just check in with the guard with them when you get in.
Will do.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes. Go. So, before they get in, and they'll probably join you in about like a minute or so inside, Kieran and Cal, you see the familiar courtyard in the center. Kieran, you notice in the courtyard there's 2 bodies underneath tarps, essentially, or blankets. They've just been laid out in the middle of the courtyard, and you see 2 guards standing over them. Cal, you don't notice this at first. It is then that the guard leads you sort of down and around the courtyard and into a side room that leads upstairs, and then which then leads to a room that's similar to the room that you stood in. That you were imprisoned in the previous time you were here.
Real quick, while we're walking there, can I ask the guard? Well, Kieran would be like, "Are those the men that we brought in? The would-be assassin?" Asking the guard that I'm walking with, motioning to the bodies under.
Yeah, and it would be at that point, Cal, that you would notice as well, because he gestured to them. You're not going to maintain ignorance of that, but the guard sort of looks over his shoulder, kind of unsure what you're talking about, and I'm not too sure myself. We've got a few prisoners here. I don't believe one of them might be. I know the other one you brought in is still unconscious up in the medical room where I'm bringing you with the Druidess. Sorry. Those souls there, I'm not sure.
Oh.
So he leads you up He leads you up. At this point, you guys are about to enter into the medical facility. But I want to check in with everyone else. You all walk in, and when you step inside, Timber, you do notice, or I'm going to say you catch the scent of your companions, of Curon and Cal, sort of know generally the path that they walked. You also catch the scent of mild rot, like very fresh rot, coming from the courtyard.
Okay.
So just the
right.
beginnings of decay.
All right. Well, in that case, I would kind of take charge. I would like follow my nose.
Follow your nose. So as soon as you all step inside, you see Timber just starts to sort of and would you like to go straight for your companions, or are you trying to look at the other smell?
Ooh. I would look for the other smell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Scarlet and Wiswick, you notice Timber just immediately just his nose to the ground and he just goes right for the courtyard. Where when you follow him there, you see there are two guards standing there over what looks like two bodies underneath tarps. What do you want to do?
That's gross. I mean, why do you take us here? Hey, dog, our friends are back the other way. Come on, boy.
His name is Timber.
Ignoring.
He must have smelled something.
It's as soon as Timber gets up to the bodies that the one of the guards is like, "Oh, get that hound away from here."
I'm so sorry. I'm so
sort of
sorry.
like swing the base of his spear at you, not like hit you, but sort of like in that way that someone would like shoo a dog with a broom.
Timber's gonna sit down and look confused at the guy and try to be cute.
I'm gonna run up next to him and just I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He's very curious. He didn't mean any harm.
Give me a performance check with advantage because Scarlett's helping you on being cute.
That's a 17.
All right. So you see the guard with the spear is just sort of like, but then you see the other guard kind of steps over and, sort of, he doesn't have a weapon drawn. He's just sort of, standing there with him, and he comes up and he bends down and just starts to pet you behind the ears. He's like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, he is a curious lad. Oh, what's his name?"
His name is Timber.
Timber! Oh, look at him. He's adorable. Little strange that he's searching for dead bodies, but...
we all have our quirks.
Oh, he's scratching you under the chin. He's like, "Oh, you're looking for the dead ones, aren't you, little boy? All right. Well, get him out of here, though. We got to keep these bodies away from others."
Timber's gonna just give look at Scarlet like a disappointing like.
Come on, Timber. Let's leave them to their jobs.
Do we get a look at the bodies, or are they covered?
You can't really see the bodies. You can really only see the feet sticking out. They seem to be just pale human feet.
Oh,
but the bodies are completely covered from head to ankle with the tarps.
all right. Timber's gonna follow his nose towards our companions.
Okay.
Follow behind him.
Yeah, hurry up. I don't feel well. I want to go to this medical doctor.
Timber's gonna stop and stare at Wiswick. And then continue.
What do we smell like, Timber?
You currently smell like dirt and
That's
BO.
we were doing a lot of
Yeah, you didn't shower at all.
I guess my question was, what are our set? Like, how do you know you're following us?
Because I smelled your clothing before. You have a lot of like you try to hide you try to hide your scents with lots
Huron,
of.
you smell like mint and fresh herbs.
No,
It's not like it's a love potion.
Right.
No, but everybody's got a smell, and he being a never.
I'd imagine that cows' silks smell quite fine. It's maybe somewhat perfumed a little.
Yeah,
Some
that's how I imagine.
Vestiges of perfumes.
Yeah, Cal doesn't
Sandalwood.
have any with him, but he's
But not-
yeah.
It's
Exactly,
inherent
not
in
like
the silk.
Not like he sprayed himself. Like humans or others wouldn't smell this. Only you, because you have your wolf scent, can smell the really musty old perfume smells on Cal's silk.
Ugh.
And this is back in the day. They made perfume out of like adrenal glands of badgers and stuff.
Exactly. So it's
Nice.
quite profound. And Kieran smells like ritualistic incense.
Mm.
It's just seeped in
That's
their
fair.
clothes
So
Let's have
badger
it.
adrenaline and
and
ritual.
their body odor.
Nice.
To be
They're-
fair, we were running around and fighting, and we haven't had a sleep in a while.
I'm pretty sure elves
right.
don't sweat.
Well,
I'm gonna say
they do now.
I'm gonna say you do. Maybe
No,
you don't.
They're
think
not
you
real.
do.
Anyway,
All right, well, this
sorry,
was a
we're-
productive conversation.
Anyway, now that
Anyway.
timeline is gone.
Yep. All right. So easy enough. You'll get there a few moments after they step inside. You'll know they're in there through the smell. Back to you guys. So Cal and the guard opens the door up for you. When you look inside, it very much looks like exactly what you'd think an infirmary looks like. Several cots set up. You see some soldiers that were likely from the battle that you were all just in, probably up on the top ramparts. You see in the back, though, on either side, the room is very dimly lit by torches, except there's like lanterns that are being kept close to patients that are being observed right now. You see on either side, you see one side on your right is the assassin you brought in, who is sort of like covered in bandages and sort of just eyes closed, resting there. Familiar eyes, you can see the 3 markings across his lips, but he seems completely unconscious. On the left side, far to the back, you see the half-elven woman, dark bronze skin, wearing yellow and green sort of wrappings. It's not like a full robe. It's more like several layers of cloth wrapped around, and then sort of baggy, billowing pants. She's no sleeves, head completely shaven. Very hard to notice pointed ears. And the blue tattoo on her head, that sort of 2 lines coming up and then out.
Sorry.
There is a what appears to be an older woman tending to her, sort of wrapping some wounds and occasionally checking her, putting a wet rag to her head and squeezing it and compressing, taking care of her.
I nudge Kieran, and I like motion with my head towards where the bronze woman is, because I don't remember if he saw her. I don't think he did. So I do
He
that,
didn't.
and then I'm gonna like lean across the door frame, essentially, like blocking coming in, and let him do his business.
Fair
So
enough.
Kieran marches, purposefully strides, which is however you will imagine it, across through the room, straight to the woman bandaging Druidess, and go, "Hello there. How is she doing?"
The woman looks up to you, sort of surprised, not expecting anyone to come in, and just looks up to you and just says, "Oh, well, she's really dehydrated, underfed. Poor thing. Must have been starved down there. She's several bruises. Must have tortured her little. But she's stable. Don't know when she'll wake, but we're taking care of her."
She's not spoken since she's arrived, not woken at all.
No, she came to us unconscious. We've done our best to bring her fever down, try to tend to her wounds. She's not woken.
Meta question.
Mhm.
would if I cast Cure Wounds on her, that would heal her health. Now, would that necessarily like play like would that bring her back, or like would that awaken her at all? Would that just feel better? Is that something that like heals dehydration and hunger, or is it just physical wounds that it would work?
So mechanic-wise, it doesn't get rid of exhaustion, which is
Okay.
what would be causing these sorts of feelings.
Right.
But you're not sure what it would do, if it would wake her or not. You could certainly try.
Yep. So Kieran will reach a hand out, placing it over her, and cast Cure Wounds. I guess technically I'm gonna touch her, so he'll like put his hand on her forehead, palm over her face, and cast Cure Wounds. Fuck it. Let's do it at second level, because we all about bringing our possible informants to life.
Got spell slots for that?
Oh yeah, I've got one more slot. I'm really hoping we're gonna rest soon. If not, I will just be detriment to the party.
Same here, buddy.
Spare the dying! Spare the dying! Spare the dying!
I, on the other hand, am useful at pretty much all times. I'm like, you fucking man.
9 points of healing.
Okay. So the woman across from you sort of watches curiously as you begin to perform this spell. Her eyes go wide as the light illuminates beneath your palms, the moonlight, twilight energy entering into the body of the half-elven woman. You can see on her arms bruising begins to fade away, and sort of her skin becomes less pale and more full, and the blood is actually coming to her body. And you see for a moment, her eyes are still closed, no movement, but then she's awake. But she seems completely confused. And she's sort
of... Easy there, easy. Do you have water? Let's sit her up a little. Kieran would reach to like help sit her up, propping up some pillows.
Yep, easy enough to do. The woman immediately sort of responding to your authority here helps you bring her up and push the pillows up to, and then immediately rushes off for a pitcher of water. Comes back easily enough and starts pouring a cup and sort of hands it to you to help her.
So Kieran would, as one does, try to help the druidess drink, tipping her head back slowly, just a little at a time.
And she's very panicky, but like just begins to like drink heavily, deep draughts of the water. She's clearly dehydrated, and she begins to cough a little.
Right, at which point Kieran is like, easy there, not too much at easy. I hear you've been locked up for a very long time.
What am I?
You're in the barracks, the circle of the market. I still haven't quite figured out this town.
What happened?
What happened? Under the Lord, I forget his name now. Just a quick note, personality flaw is that Kieran doesn't remember names. I wrote it in after I realized that I'm terrible at remembering names.
Harrison, Cal shouts.
We joined Lord Harrison as we stormed. Well, I don't know if storms. We took down the Archdruid, defeating some kind of construct. While we searched the Long Hall, we found you in one of the dungeons, as well as some mushroom zombies. Kieran says,
Fungus
remembering
walkers,
Cal.
perhaps.
Huh?
Fungus zombie. It's fine.
Oh, fungus zombies. That's what it was.
Cal continues to just sit languidly at the doorframe.
You see, she sort of she leans her head back, closes her eyes, like really trying to take it all in and remember the last thing she can remember. The Archdruid. Is he dead?
Turning back to Cal. No, I believe he's still. Yes, no, he's. I'm sure he's being held by Lord, whatever his name is,
Harrison.
Harrison, in good custody. But that's not quite why I'm interested in speaking. I saw the cell you were kept. The writings, wall. One with pallid mask.
Yes. I don't. They kept me. They kept me under. I can't think straight. Feeding me poultices, some sort of hallucinogenic. Then you notice something. You notice when her eyes opened, though, is they're this very vibrant amber. The color of her eyes. Um, it's very staunch against her darker skin. She looks very unwell at this point.
Can I think back? Did the mushroom fungus zombies stand out as having certain colored eyes?
No, you couldn't see their eyes. Their eyes were completely covered with fungal infection.
Hmm.
I remember I have yellowish eyes from the poison.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's your sclera, not your irises. Like jaundice. But she's very much struggling to remember exactly what you're saying. I think you think she's really completely out of it at this point. You may still be able to get more out of her, but you've gotten her one place. You've got her awake. You're not sure what you can get from her right now.
Q, perhaps it might be time to let her rest for a bit and gather her thoughts before we try this again, yeah?
Pausing for a moment, Huron turns, looks at Cal directly in the eyes and goes, I'm sorry, did you just call me Q?
Yeah, I was just trying to emphasize if you don't like it.
Standing up. Let's keep trying. He walks over to the assassin for a moment, and just like opens his eyelids to see if the guy's like awake or not. Just totally intrusive.
Yeah. Give me a medicine check.
Would we have gotten to the room by now?
Yeah, at this point, Cal, you feel a push on the door behind you.
I would open the door.
You see Timber immediately like, sniffing and as he pushes through.
Hello, boy!
I sniff specifically in his cloak, and then I shake my head like that's it. That's the one.
So the assassin is, he's alive, but he's definitely not awake. He seems to be, he could potentially be in catatonic or in, but he's not awake. You know that at least. He's definitely unconscious.
Quick little slap on the face. Slap. Anything?
Nothing.
Kieran shrugs, turning to the wise old woman that I assume is wise old and a woman.
Yeah. Well, yes, I did say she was an older woman, and we can say she's wise.
What's her wisdom score?
Compared wisdom
Kieran
scores.
turns to her.
She has her mouth is agape at you of having just slapped one of her patients.
Just for clarification, he is a would-be assassin. So.
Okay.
Now, I don't presume to bark orders to you, but if either of these patients get into more speakable condition, I would very much appreciate learning that so I can speak.
She looks at you and says, of course. I mean, you've done already so much to help us with our half-elven patient here. I didn't think she would wake for weeks.
Kieran would then walk over to the Druidess, What's your name?
Wyla.
Was that a Lila?
Wyla.
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 Well, Wyla, when you can remember more, let someone know and I shall come. Much we discuss.
Before you sort of move away from her or finish that statement, she does reach up and sort of grab at your arm. It's very weak. It's not like she's not pulling you in or anything. It's just sort of like a as much as she can grab. Did he kill any more? Did he kill any more?
Any more who?
Any more innocents?
Kieran thinks to himself, were any innocent people killed in that courtyard?
I mean, no, actually. I mean, some guards may have died. Some guards were injured at least. But no,
Yeah, but they're
there
not
were
entirely innocent.
yeah, the citizens were all out of there. You get the idea she's talking about more ritualistic murders.
Well, it depends how long we're talking. But we did stop an assassination. So, no, I'm gonna go with no more.
And she sort of lets go of your arm, or she lets go of your arm, and her hand kind of falls to the side. She said, and do they have him?
As far as I'm concerned, yeah.
You see, there's almost a calm that comes over her. She's still struggling to like stay awake and breathe a little bit, but it seems like the knowledge that the Archdruid has been taken in and stopped for now, for the most part, is bringing a certain peace to her face. She starts to slowly, you see her eyes start to close, and she drifts back into a unconscious state.
Putting a lingering hand on her, like a rest well, young. Kieran nods to the wise old woman, looks at the assassin, and then walks to the door to reunite with his friend.
Did you give her your card?
My what?
Never mind. We should. Does anyone have anything else to do here? I could frankly do with a change of clothes.
I could use with some medicine. I'm not feeling too great. But she seems like she's got her hands full. They look way worse off than I am.
Well, what is your problem? Actually, I don't think we've. What's going on with you?
My tummy kind of hurts. My eyes look weird. I think I might have felt like touched something in the Archdruid's quarters that made me a little sick.
Well, let me introduce you to something that works wonders for me. It's called ginger ale. It really settles the stomach.
I'm interested in the chemical composition of such an interesting elixir.
It's a lovely Endurian drink.
My people are famous for their soft drinks. And their domes and arches, but that's secondary.
I thought Curon would be the one with the cure-all.
Probably. Also, I like what you did there, wordplay-wise. That was excellent, and I high-five Wisdom.
Kieran seems fused by this exchange.
Anyway, Kieran, I think he's not feeling well. Do you have anything you could do about that?
Well, I already healed him once.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that he's been poisoned.
Like,
and unfortunately, there's not much that my magic at the moment assists in that.
Timber's gonna start licking Wiswick's hair.
Stop it! No, go away.
It's at this point that the older woman sort of comes up to you, Kieran, and looks at the gnome down there and just says, I suppose since you did us such a kindness with helping bring the young lady, the elven woman, back to consciousness, we could spare some of our supply to help your friend. We don't have much antitoxin, but we may be able to spare a ration.
I
That
don't
would be
believe it's necessary, but
exceedingly
if
helpful.
it's up.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, my good woman. And as she totters off, I'd like to turn and be like, she's so old, right?
But very wise.
And generous.
Granted.
She does wander off and does return with a something wrapped in like what looks like some leaves, some dried leaves. Bends down to one knee. It takes her a bit. She's an older woman, but she's an old person. But she just very much like kind of holding her back and just leans down and just take this little one, and you can.
This is my body.
He opens the leaves apart, and you see within there's sort of this. It's kind of like a wrapped up, like really tight. Like almost looks like a raw cookie dough, but it's like definitely like herbs mushed together with some kind of binding agent, and it's about like the size of like a quarter, and it's it doesn't look appetizing and it smells a bit bad, but she offers it to you.
I quickly pop it in my mouth, and then I take my flask and go like this.
And it's at that point she says, "Don't mix it with alcohol."
Too late for that.
So it's the combination. The alcohol. It's like I'm imagining what this is probably tastes like to you is eating a ball of dirt and then chasing it with whiskey. So it's very unpleasant, but you steel stomach.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, you've eaten things from the.
You've eaten
Underdark
dirt before.
eaten Underdark dirt before. But
Mud pies.
Yeah, I used to play mud ball with my sister, and things get rowdy.
But
You end up eating a lot of dirt.
for a
Those
moment, you think
names.
you're gonna throw up, but then sort of like almost like a energy hits you. Not like a super depth, like I just chugged a monster, but you feel alive again. You feel very. There's a slight buzz almost to it, not just from the whiskey you chugged with it, but it seems like it has like a slight aftertaste of coffee grounds. So it's but you do feel better immediately. Not 100%, like it's going to take a few minutes before you're completely cured, but you certainly know you it's working.
Wow, that worked like a charm. I'm already feeling a little better. Thank you, old woman.
She wraps the leaves up and sort of smiles at you, tussles your hair a little, and then slowly stands back up and nods to Kieran. I will certainly let you know if there's any updates on these two back here.
Very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you for all your help. She turns back to go tend to her patients.
Well, Q, if you're done here, shall we?
Yes, I suppose we shall. Where are we off to again?
I believe our next stop should either be perhaps a change of clothes and some rest for a bit, or we should probably more likely go to the Lord's Hall and collect our reward from him. Does anyone have any other options? I think that's probably our best two courses of action.
The Lord did mention that I would be able to peruse his study at some point. That's worth investigating, maybe afterwards.
Also, there was a large bit of gold there, and while I'm not a greedy man, it certainly would, help a bit,
Absolutely. We need funds to fuel our adventures.
Perhaps one day I'll set up my own shop.
Perhaps one day I'll have my own laboratory.
He also looks in the direction that I'm looking in, kind of like up to the left.
Perhaps one
Okay.
day I'll get some normal friends.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Friends?
I write my own name in the prank list.
All right, what do you guys want to do?
Let's head out.
Okay, you're gonna head to the Lord's Manor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
That's my vote, at least.
Kieran follows.
Timber doesn't get a vote.
Aw.
Alex made a character that doesn't speak.
Only on rare occasion. So easy enough. You depart. The guard returns out to his post, having followed you throughout, keeping an eye on you. It's easy enough to return to the circle of the hearth and find your way towards the manor in the back, its own private area. The gates are open. There are 2 guards there, but they recognize you. You can see they're a bit battered up. You presumably were in the skirmish, but they are certainly still working. They let you through, easy enough. You see the fountain in the middle, the steps that lead up. You go back in. You open the hall door. Our 2 guards help you open the hall door. And what you see inside is it's even though there was mention of feasting, it's very small group. There's just some of the higher ups in the guard, including the captain, and you see McClear there. The fire is roaring in the central long hearths, and there is food being brought out to the Lord, who's enjoying his dinner. And there's candlelight all over the table that he's in, and it's that same room you walked into before, where he's up at the dais right now with the captain and a few other higher ups in the guard feasting.
I think while we're like walking in, Wiswick was a little surprised at the show of affection by Timber. So I think as he's walking in, instead of avoiding him as usual, he kind of walks next to the animal, and at some point just carefully tries to pet him without him noticing, just sneakily going behind him and maybe just wafting at his tail a little.
Do I if at any point I notice it?
I'm not trying to make it super hidden. I'm just
Okay.
nervously going for it.
You do notice him nervously, you feel it on your fur like that,
Timber's gonna stop, look at him, pause for a second, and then whack him with my tail.
feel a quick thwap from the tail.
And then continue walking, trying to brush my tail in his face.
Achoo!
And I think Wiswick just backs off after that, a little uppity about the whole thing, but not necessarily mad or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm imagining stepping in, perhaps Cal is leading again, walking towards the dais. You see the table's fairly full of these guardsmen. There are several spots still available. You see the captain is right next to the Lord, and they're sort of speaking in hushed tones while they're eating. And you see the Lord sort of notices you from the table, and sort of immediately stands up. You see the rest of the table sort of stands up as he does to look back, and he lifts up his ale horn. Just yes, champions have arrived finally. Come to see me after their grand victory. Come, sit, eat. You must rest in my manor tonight.
I give him my best Trisexian bow, and of course then say, "Why, thank you, my good lord." I motion to the open spots and I go, "We'd love to join you, friends." I think I don't know where I was going with that. I lost track of the time. And when I walk up and sit down,
So the rest of you just sort of notice Cal give a very confident start of a message, and then he just looks at you and goes, "Friends?" and then walks up and takes a seat. You notice the seats that are available are all across from the Lord. There's a few guards there, but there's plenty of spots for each of you. You all.
Kieran tries to imitate the bow that Cal did, and then sits down.
Yeah, Scarlet will sweep her way over there, but she doesn't want to sit near the captain.
Okay.
So,
Timber ignores all formalities and looks at the food and walks closer to the food.
Of course. It's a similar spread to earlier. You can imagine sort of at the end of winter, they're eating a lot of the same things. So there's a lot of dried foods, dried meats, and then occasionally a larger, there's one large chicken like last time. No lamb this time, fortunately. But plenty to eat. Meat pies and everything.
Ooh.
So, Scarlet, you're able to find a seat that's more towards the end of the table, away from the center where the captain is. The rest of you can find spots pretty close to the middle there, across from the captain. Timber, there isn't a spot for you, of course, but I imagine you kind of perch up next to Scarlet, and sort of sniffing and looking around at the food.
Yeah, I'm doing that thing where I put my nose underneath her arm, like, give me food.
I'll pick something out and just start feeding him.
You see, the Lord looks to you and he goes, "We can certainly find some more raw meats for your hound there. He's certainly served us well in the courtyard."
I'm sure he'd love that. Thank you.
You see, he kind of looks back and you see kind of almost from the shadows, servant steps forward from behind him and he just sort of whispers to him and they immediately walk off. "So you all, I'm certain, are tired and weary from the combat. Please, I insist that you enjoy some food and we discuss our victories over the Archdruid and our future endeavors."
Well, thank you, my lord. Has the Archdruid, A, is he conscious, and B, has he given you any more information?
Well, I'm afraid there's not much to be done right now. The Archdruid is fairly unconscious, living, and not in a terrible state. Your man saw to that, keeping him alive in your group. So we have him below in my personal prison, personal cells, kept under 24-hour watch and several bindings. His day will come.
I help myself to some chicken.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by his day will?
Well, certainly our next goal is to present him to the king and present his crimes and ask that we are given permission to do as we see fit with this criminal.
Isn't it your town, though? Aren't you allowed to wish?
And you see he's almost frustrated at the question. I would, if only, but this land is held quite tight by King Guthred in Meduin, so cases that involve such high figures, I unfortunately must refer to my lord, my liege.
I'd like to do either an insight check or some kind of check to see if I can figure out where his frustration's coming from. Whether it's, does he think he can't make a case here, or is he got some deeper set issues?
Give me an insight check.
I'm not great at why an 8.
An 8?
Nope, it's a 7.
7?
Yeah.
All right, very hard to tell.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's definitely frustrated.
Would it still be possible then for us to question the Archdruid? before you bring him for your.
Perhaps I suppose I certainly owe you a great deal for helping me in this matter. Why? What is your reasoning? What is your purpose behind questioning this criminal?
Well, the rituals they were carrying on with, the ends they were trying to. While I don't agree with the means, is human sacrifice. I believe they were working as a their keep. One of the what were the gods called that get killed during the Mercier Con?
Dead gods.
Oh, of course. I guess okay. One of the dead gods. The goddess I worship, Ivan, is in a similar situation.
Yes, well, the worship of dead gods is storied tradition across all lands in some form, but also dangerous one, and one that I don't always agree with. But in order to keep this, he's suddenly very quiet. My people need their faith. They must be allowed to do their rituals, to worship their gods. And Oxlin, the High Crown, they don't appreciate that tradition. And I would like, as I would suppose King Guthred would as well, to keep these happenings from spreading outside of Tressex.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be taking it up to Illyria, so you guys won't. Giving like a curt little smile and nod at.
I find you fascinating, Elf. I certainly hope we can talk further about your god.
I'd like to look around. Does he have a wife? Or other form of romantic partner?
Looking around, you don't see, but beside him, you do not see a partner. The upper levels here are a mixture of men and women. There's the captain, Domhnall, you see McLear, and there seems to be other sergeants or lieutenants. There's about, six or so, about six exactly, additional table guests, but they all seem to be part of the guard. There doesn't seem to be anyone who is family, even of the guard members there. Seems almost like...
I ask because that sounded a lot like a come on.
Perhaps Cal thinks that. Perhaps it is. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
I can sympathize with the disregard for local tradition. I mean, back where I came from, my people have all but forgotten the stories of our origins. It's quite sad, really.
A tragedy indeed, my deep-known friends. Is there any way for you to recover that tradition?
Well, that is partly what I'm doing on this quest. I seek the magics of the old that are spoken of in my old text. My uncle showed them to me, and I believe that someday I might be able to create what has been lost.
Well, I certainly hope that you all, in your endeavors, continue your partnership with my manor, my offices. You've done great work for us. And if you wish to speak with the Archdruid, we will be leaving soon with him. Perhaps you will come with us. We will be having a feast tomorrow night, a proper one, with the entire guard or any of those who are not working, and perhaps some other guests. Tomorrow night, and I hope that each of you are there with us. For the morning after, we will be departing from Meadowin with the Archdruid in chains to be brought to King Guthred. And I'd ask that you join us.
Well, I usually wouldn't be one to turn down a good feast. I suppose if we don't have any better plans, it sounds quite appealing. Will any of the townspeople be there?
At the feast?
Yes.
Perhaps. We may invite some select guests, some renowned folk who are here for the festivities. It is, by after all, still the new dawning. So perhaps we may not announce that our purposes for the feast is the taking of Archdruid Orlin. That information must be dealt with carefully. But there will certainly be folk of all backgrounds, guests of mine, friends of the manor, perhaps some of the more wealthy merchants from the festivities, as well as the best of the best of my guard.
Well, I'm sure that we'll need to decide on the joining you to Meadowin. I believe we would at least definitely take your invitation to the feast tomorrow.
Absolutely. And I hope truly that you decide to travel with us, for you see, a lord's favor, as I've said before, is great, but perhaps a king's is greater.
Understood, my lord. I do have a question, perhaps a little external to this direct thing. There seems to be a lot of crickets in your home. Does it feel like we're outside to anybody else?
And you see, as a servant comes back with a platter of raw meats for Timber, the king sort of like does a quick hand motion towards Timber, and you see the servant sort of like brings the plate down and places it next to you as you're sitting next to Scarlet. And this is not offal. This is good meat.
Timber immediately takes the meat, drags it off the plate, and brings it over by the hearth. And then kind of like you know how dogs, like when they're playing with, they have like one paw underneath it, one paw on top of it, and like you're just like tearing at the meat slab.
Absolutely.
I just face bomb and slowly cast prestidigitation to clean up the mess.
Immediately, the sort of toppled over platter with the smaller pieces of meat is sort of brought back to order, and the servant sort of like, okay. And the king looks to him and he's like, deal with the crickets. Last time I say it, deal with the crickets. They've been here all winter. They're supposed to be dead.
Oh, yeah, just something I noticed. I was a little concerned, really. I thought perhaps I was losing my mind.
Well, you see, sometimes you have crickets in your house.
And sometimes there are bats in the belfry. It's an old Trisexian saying, I know.
The king looks at you like, not going to question you on that. But in all seriousness, the guard is light, and while the battle was successful, it was not light on our injured. Shame to say, I've lost a couple of men. We took the circle of the ash, though, and we took the court of the ash. So, food supply is firmly in our grasp. The few druids who live and are not decomposed in the way you discovered are being questioned. Some were just as afraid of the archdruid as we. And perhaps we can find some who can be placed into positions of power in the order to be our men within. And you each seem to have some sort of sense of judgment and instinct that you were able to suss out quite a bit of this. So at the feast tomorrow, there are a few folk I'd like you to meet. Folk that I'd like to hear your opinions about as I begin deciding upon who will take over the circle. But that is another matter for tomorrow. If you come with us, it would certainly bode well for future partnerships and endeavors between you and my own lordship and the Crown of Tressex. It would be quite profitable for you to serve our King Guthred and ultimately Oxlin. But if not, we shall pay you, provide you with whatever it is that you wish to seek. Perhaps, if there is time, you'll be able to speak with the Archdruid. But I cannot make any promises on that end. We will pay you. Hopefully you will work for us again, but if not, we shall part ways. He begins eating. I do not ask that you decide now, but I ask that you decide by the morning after the feast.
When you'll be
Say that again?
when you'll be departing?
We shall be departing in the morning after the feast, perhaps later in the day, closer towards the mid-noon sun.
So, okay, and where will you be leaving by?
Well, we shall be leaving from this courtyard.
Okay,
traversing out
and
through the city.
when should I RSVP by again?
I suppose you should let me know the night of the feast, or at the latest in the morning before we depart from Medellin.
And your name again was?
Lord Harrenson.
Right, better write.
And your name again, Elf?
Ooh.
My friends call me, looking at Cal.
Manuron!
What did you say, Wiswick?
Manuron!
Was that manure, Rod?
Is that a manure?
No. My friends, I'm Kira. They call
Huron. Cleric of Villuvania.
this
Yes.
thing.
Guest in my home. Now, I recognize you all, of course, from our dealings. I know your name to be Cal. Endurian man of taste, it seems.
I make no claim to the finer things in life, though I was trained to recognize aesthetics.
Well, perhaps your attire betrays you, but you seem a man of education and repute.
Cal would just kind of like he's like, they keep eating.
And of course, there is the wild woman Scarlet and her faithful hound. And my Sneffleblin friend, Wiswick.
Please, Lord Harrison, call me Wizzy.
And at that you hear sort of some like grunted laughter from the soldiers that are eating at the table. And the Lord sort of looks to each of you and says, well, we shall have a proper feast tomorrow. At this, I shall leave you to finish your food, and one of my servants will come and lead you to some good quarters for the night. So you don't need to stay in any. While I support and love our local businesses, I can certainly provide you with a more comfortable arrangement.
We would be most grateful. Thank you.
Okay.
I believe we spoke of some arrangements for me to explore your study. Maybe now would be a good time after our feast.
After tonight, you say?
Yes, if that works for you. Maybe tomorrow morning, if it's more convenient.
Well, you certainly, I assume, are quite tired from the battle, and I'd hate to keep you up with that sort of mystery. Tomorrow, I'll make arrangements for you to spend some time within my personal library.
Thank you.
And I shall discuss tomorrow before the feast any payment arrangements we will have for your services to the crown, and then we will have our feast, and, as I do hope, travel together. Good night to them.
Good night, my lord.
And
Good
he,
night, buddy.
as he stands, the soldiers stand. He nods to them and steps back into a back doorway out of the the hall. And then at that point, the soldiers sit back down. You see McAleer just starts to. The Lord is gone, and you notice McAleer immediately takes his ale horn and just. Now we can enjoy ourselves. And the group begins to laugh together. And
I'd like to try and impress them with my charm.
How would you like to charm them?
I'd like to roll a charm check. It's a mixture of history, performance, religion, and intimidation.
I'd like to persuade
Roll them all and give me the average.
I'd like to persuade them to like me.
Oh, that's animal handling. Humans are technically animals.
And what do you do to try to get them to like you?
Okay, I was hoping we could. I'd like to tell a humorous story and try and pick out the things that I know that they've talked about before and relate myself to those things that they talked
Okay. This is going to be one of those, like, we cut into the scene at the punchline.
Yeah. I can do that.
All right,
Let's see
give
how
me
I roll.
give me a persuasion check. I kind of want. I'll give you a choice between persuasion and performance.
It's a persuasion. It's an 18.
Ooh.
All right, give me the punchline.
It was a pineapple. That's what he said to me. A pineapple.
You see, there actually is.
Pineapple.
There is quite uproarious laughter. You see, the whole table's laughing. McAleer is off his rocker, loving it. But you do notice the captain. He sort of he's the only one who doesn't really laugh much. He smiles at the joke, but he's sort of distracted in his ale horn. But there's all sorts here. There's lieutenants and sergeants and of men and women, and they all seem to be. They really loved the story. There's a big cheers at the end of it. They drain their ale horns and wait for their further alcohol. Is there anything the rest of you would like to do?
Finish my meat.
No.
What'd you say, Timber?
I said finish my meat.
Easy enough. It's really nice venison. Fresh. They must have hunted it recently.
Is there anybody sitting across the table from me? Any of the guards?
Yes. So there's the empty seat in the middle. There's McAleer on the left side of it. There's the captain on the right side. Directly across from you are two members of the guard. There's a taller woman who still has some of her armor on, actually. You see she's got a leather hauberk on. She has short blonde hair that's kind of an undercut, shaved on the sides and swept back. And it clearly is swept back with like the sweat of battle from today. And she's just really tearing into some chicken right now. And then next to her is a smaller man, very lithe, very long, greasy black hair with actually quite large beard, with very, very blue eyes and incredibly pale skin. These two are sitting. The woman is directly across from you, and the man is to her left, between her and the captain.
Okay. As she's eating, and I'm kind of just like picking at whatever I have in front of me, just gonna kind of look up and say, "I was in that till today, wasn't it?"
And you see, she's just sharing into like a big chunk of chicken, not even a chicken leg, just like a big piece of chicken. She's just holding like an apple almost, and she's like, "Good fight. We haven't had a fight like that in ages."
I'm glad that you got some excitement then.
You see the man next to her is sort of like, "Yeah, she always likes the skirmishes. I lost one of my men in there, one of my archers."
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, see how many shits he wants to be King Harrenson says about that. And you see the woman sort of like nudges him in the arms, like, "You don't talk about a lord like that. It's a good fight."
That archdruid, though, he's very strange. Do you get many strange people around?
You see the the woman kind of like finishes swallowing the chicken she has, drops it down, and sort of drowns it with some ale. Just looks as, "No, we don't really see many strange figures like that. I mean, we don't have many people here. We see strange travelers. The archdruid, he wasn't always like that."
Oh, really? What was he like before?
And the man sort of, "Well, I used to, as a boy, go to the druid circle all the time. They used to occasionally give out treats, always kind. There'd be animals there. Something changed."
Do you have any
Archdruid.
theories?
Strange times, I don't know. People unsettled. A lot of monsters on the edge of town. Archdruid just started being strange one day. Wore that mask everywhere he went. Began preaching about the Ashkeeper more and more, and little reference to the Font Mother. We thought it was strange. Dead god versus living god. Sacrifices more. But when these killings started, and the woman sort of like, the murders, well, some folk talked about it being the archdruid. And the man's like, "I always thought it was someone who was doing his bidding, heard his preaching in the square and sort of take matters into their own hands for the ash keeping." But it's all over now, and hopefully we'll have no trouble, and we can get back to life.
Let's hope so. May I ask you just one more question?
And at that point, the captain kind of turns to you and is like, "How many questions do you have for my men and my women?"
I just said I had one more.
Sort of sneers a little and looks away, drinking from his cup. And the woman sort of, and the man, they both nod.
Those strange travelers that you mentioned, did any of them seem like they had burns on them? You ever see anyone like that?
Well, we see a lot of travelers. May have been some burned folk. There's so many over the years. You don't really remember their faces unless they've made an impression.
Any with the shape of a handprint?
No, I think we'd remember that.
I think you would.
And the man is, "Yes, we haven't. Well, I don't know about Captain over here or or Andrea here, but we ain't seen that."
Well, thank you for a good fight.
Well, thank you lot. Probably be more of my men dead if it weren't for you. And they continue eating. Is there anything anyone else would like to do? Or any other questions for the guards at the table?
I'd like to imbibe liberally. Got it.
Okay. Easy enough. Are you trying? Is Cal trying to get drunk? Real drunk?
Not real drunk, just good and drunk.
Good and drunk. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd say in the midst of you telling, jokes and sort of performing for the guards, persuading them to like you. You have quite a few drinks, not enough to be sick, but enough to certainly have a bit of a headache tomorrow. But for the most part, you're okay.
Cool.
Anyone else? All right. So the night goes on. You enjoy some more drinks. Cal, some more drinks. I'm assuming some other folk will have quite a few as well. Timber feasts on his meats. You talk a little bit with the guards, but it's mostly surface at this point. And then at the end of the night, a few servants come forward and lead you all to separate rooms, actually. Timber, I'm assuming, follows Scarlet.
Actually, no. I'm going to follow Kieran.
Oh, okay. Scarlet, you would notice that. So you see as you're being led, you notice Timber breaks from you and goes with Kieran.
Was it something I said?
Listen.
Timber just pursues on, and you're sort of strange because you've been traveling together for so long, and this will be the first time really that you don't spend the night in the same room.
So Kieran would notice Timber following him. Kieran would definitely kind of speed up a little, eyeing Timber and go, hello, boy.
You're just gonna look at him, go on.
I guess I'll go to my room then.
So you all brought to your rooms, much nicer than the rooms you had in the inn. Full feather beds with, very lush pillows, very comfortable. Personal small hearth near the bed with wood stacked up next to it, and sort of a curtain bed too, with the tall banisters where you can close the curtains around it. Just real swell.
I think Wiswick might he'll go into his own room followed by the people, but it'll make it very important to him that he knows where everyone else is sleeping.
Yeah, and it's easy enough to kind of keep an eye because you're on the second floor of the manor at this point. You're sort of brought up to the back steps that lead up to the second floor, and it's sort of a long hallway. And there's only two. I keep thinking of Timber as being led to his own room. So I'm like, there's a person there, not a dog.
Should I put a dog icon on the top right so you can differentiate me?
I'd like to not see your face. I just want you to put a
dog.
A good boy.
Live feed to a dog. I'm sure there's one somewhere you can find.
Right.
You gotta get one of those mocaps.
Yeah. Oh no, that'd be so creepy. But anyway, it's easy enough to keep track of where everyone is. Wiswick. So there's 4 rooms that you are all being kind of spread apart into. You are Cal is on the end. You are next to Cal, and then there's Scarlet, and then there's Kieran. So easy enough to recall that. You're all in your rooms. Is there anything anyone would like to do before going to bed?
Yeah, Kieran is just staring at Timber inside the room.
It is Timber's just, I'm imagining, sitting there looking at you at first until the person leaves. Then they give you a few directions on how to use the hearth and all that, and then you're all alone.
Right. Okay, thank you. Have a good night then.
If you need anything, just come find one of us. There's always someone on duty downstairs.
Perfect, thank you. That'll be...
Good night. And the servant exits out and leaves you all alone.
Who's a good boy?
And with that, I would like to transform into a humanoid, not a hybrid.
Easy enough. So you see Timber's form just, and not into a werewolf, but into the mismatched human, beastly human that he's transformed into before.
I am a good boy.
Yes, right. That's a little disconcerting.
I apologize for my genitals hanging out, but this is important for you to know.
The genitals, or...
He has no
Ignore
pants on.
ignore my genitals.
Right, okay.
I grab Kieran's sheets and I just hold it over. Please get Scarlet to give me my cloak back. Anyway, this is
cloak?
not why I came in here.
Okay.
I came in here to tell you about something I found in the room that Wiswick found. In there, the back, there was a curtain. And in the back of the curtain was a ritual circle for the Ash Keeper. It was connected to some window and an altar. There was also a book there. 2 gods took it. I think it's vital to your quest or your information for God. Anyway.
And the gods, do you know who they were? Can you
No.
describe them?
I cannot. But I can smell them. I know what they smell like. Dirty musk.
Oh.
And they all smell like that. But I know this one. It had its particular soap. Ugh. It smelled like thyme. Who likes thyme? Anyway. You should ask the Lord Harrison if he has possession of this book. It might prove vital for you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Timber. Is that your real name? Timber.
Yes, that is
Okay.
my.
If it's not, you don't have to tell me. It's okay. I just wasn't sure if that was like your wolf name, and now that you're a human, what exactly are you?
I am. Yes. I don't know what I am. I was a shifter, and now I'm a dog human.
Okay. Interesting. Well enough. I'm not sure what a shifter is. Would I know what a shifter is?
Give me an insight check.
I would not know it in 7.
No, you have never heard of a shifter before.
Think of a human and a beast. One and the other. And then you mash them together. And voila.
Isn't that what you were when you at Angus's when we had beef with him?
Yes.
So that's your shifter form.
I would like to go into hybrid form just for a second.
So it very quickly sort of the humanoid form shrinks, it shrinks away and grows into the larger werewolvian form you noticed before.
Yeah. Yes.
And the like sort of the hearth. He's very menacing looking. The fire is lighting him in high contrast and harsh lighting, and there's just the snout comes out. Yes.
And then I like to just poke him on the nose with my claw.
You feel it prick your nose and a little bit of, and Timber, you notice a little droplet of like what looks like very deep violet, almost blue blood drips down.
And then I go back to humanoid form.
And you see after like you saw like that flickering shadow on the wall, and then he comes back down into that humanoid form.
Well, that is something else.
You could call it that. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is that you get that book. Maybe.
Right, the book.
It might
Do you
be.
remember what the book looked like?
Do I remember what the book looked like?
It looked pretty standard. It was a leather-bound book. And the leather that bound it was dyed kind of a dark red.
Dark red.
But you didn't see any. You didn't see any titles or anything.
I couldn't make any titles.
Deep red, leather-bound. Got it. Well, in the morning, I'll definitely inquire to Lord about that.
There was
It
also
was black and white.
a pouch. There was also a pouch. I wasn't sure what was in it, but you could ask about some stuff that they found in the room.
I think we would be more than welcome for that information. The Lord seems to really like us, actually. It's kind of creepy. Have you noticed?
Yes, it is rather.
I mean,
creepy.
either he has incompetence beneath him, or we are really just that good.
We
Timmy,
are
do
not.
you think we're really that good?
No, we are not that good. We are terrible, actually.
I'm so great.
Well, Wiswick can control the weaves of magic, so I have yet to see him do it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
That was
him.
Wiswick just discovering a new spell.
I don't understand the little one. He's cute, though.
Yes, he is. He has his moments, to be sure.
Anyway, I'm going to sleep now.
Of course, yes. No, I think I will take a rest as well.
If you have any questions, you can ask me. I can't answer you, but I'll understand you, and we can play 20 questions. But that's about
Right.
it.
No, I believe we're slowly coming to understand one another.
Hmm.
You're smarter than the average dog.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Anyway.
Well, if there's nothing else.
And with that, good night. And I
Right.
shape back into a wolf.
Just as quick as you saw a naked man before you, you now see the typical woven timber.
It's something I don't think I'll ever get used to. Kieran would go to the hearth to extinguish it, because he prefers darkness as opposed to light most days.
And
he's
Timber realizes that he can't get out the door, so he's just like, well, I'm gonna sleep here.
So yeah, easily enough, yeah.
So Kieran would just go to the window where he can see the light of the moon, and enter a trance.
Easy enough. Yeah, there's certainly a window, and it has kind of actually a nice little alcove area where you can definitely enter into your trance literally at the window under the moonlight. And
Fantastic.
as you rest in your doggy form, Timber, the last thing you sort of see before drifting off is just sort of the long stretched silhouette of Huron through the light of the moon coming through the tall windows of the bedroom. Is there anything anyone else would like to do before you take your long rest?
I think instead of traditionally preparing my spells in the morning, I decided to stay up a little later and prepare them at night.
Okay.
Yeah, I found a stroke of inspiration when somebody, I'm not naming names, but like shattered a glass during dinner, and I thought,
Maybe I could implement some sort of destruction in my next creation. That looked quite effective.
and I just study with my little book. Like you see me up late at night, staring out the window, trying to get some inspiration as I study and write all my queries down. Maybe some of the things I learned from the books that I read in the Archdruid's study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and you can flip through those books here now as well as you're doing your studies. If you'd like to do a quick intelligence check just for those books to see if you learn anything quickly.
Oh yeah. Specifically, you mentioned I got a scroll of Featherfall.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to try and copy that spell into my spell book.
Do you
At
have
some point.
do you have the proper paper and ink?
I do.
Oh, you do.
I believe so. Yeah, it comes with my cartographer kit.
I'll have to take a look at that in a moment, but
I don't know if it has everything I need. I'm not sure of the.
yeah, I have to double check
requirements,
the spell book requirements. 'Cause it may be.
We can go over it at a later date. We don't have to do it now.
Yeah, definitely, no problem. All right, easy enough to study those texts over the night. Did you roll to see if you
All right,
discovered
yeah, let me
anything?
try. This is a intelligence check.
Yeah, a straight intelligence check.
Okay, that's +4 to 11. That's 15.
Okay. So sort of scanning over the text that you found, because you took the Pallid King, and Curon took the History of the Order and the Morsir Conflict, and then you took the book on the Feywild, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes. So in flipping through the books, you still find it quite difficult to follow the Pallid King text. It seems as though the combination of Common and whatever the other language is not straight like it was written in Common and this other language. It seems to me mostly have been written in the other language, and there's a lot of scribblings throughout in Common. Yeah, it's all consistent handwriting. You just notice little things here and there, but it's just really complicated to analyze without knowing the language that the primary text is in. But the Feywild book, you do sort of catch some, sort of having heard some of that conversation earlier between Scarlet and the guards, hearing the words Font Mother, Ashkeeper. The one story you do sort of catch real quick in sort of scanning it is just the mythological or belief of what the Feywild is like now. Sort of at the end of the text, you sort of flipping through, you reach some of the final chapters, and it just speaks about the graying of the Feywild and the lack of liveliness there, and the general gist of the story is that it seems its current condition is, the stories say, the Font Mother wanders through the graying wildlands of the Fey, tending and protecting the corpse of the Ashkeeper, which takes the form of a massive ash tree that lifts up into the sky. That's mostly what you can get skimming through before going to bed.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. So everyone take your long rest. And easy enough, you each awake in your rooms the next morning. What would you like to do?
Kieran would awake and prepare.
Kieran, you would awake much sooner.
Right, and work at preparing some spells.
Mm-hmm. Easy enough to do. You meditate over your artifact and choose your spells for the day.
I would like to
wake up. Oh, go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Yeah. Depending on how early Kieran wakes up or whatever. Actually, it wouldn't even matter.
Kieran would wake up at least 4 hours before you.
Okay. Would he be in the room? Would you be in the room anymore, Kieran?
I would still be in the room.
Timber would go back into humanoid form. Not talk to Kieran. Just sit on the floor and take out the thorny plant. The one of the key ingredients to that mush that we burned. The crappy crap. Can I just do more of a insight check on it, like smell it. Try to just do quick observations of general herbs for.
Yeah, I would give
alchemy.
an herbalism check for it.
So, that is a good one. That's a 22.
Okay, so you've never seen a plant like this before, and it's difficult to discern its qualities. It is, it's incredibly sturdy, and you try to, but also flexible in the way that it doesn't snap when you put too much force on it. It bends a little bit. Occasionally, you prick yourself with the thorns, and there's a numbing, stinging pain, much like a bee sting. And you have a very small sampling of it, so it's hard to really tell exactly what it is, but it's nothing you've ever encountered before.
Okay.
Seeing Timber do this, Kieran would take out from his breast pocket or whatever the moss that he had found at the pedestal, as well as the 2 stones.
Mhm.
Bring them over. Timber, you seem
Yes.
like you know a thing or two about looking at the, whatever branch in his hands or whatever. I guess a bit of nature. I found this at the pedestal at the place we were, the druid's longhouse. What do you make of it? Showing him the moss.
Mm-hmm.
Can I investigate that?
Yep. Give me another herbalism kit check.
Even better. 23.
Okay. This you have you've never found any of it before, but you've heard about it, and this sort of slightly it seems like a moss, but it's really it's exactly like a moss, except it glows a slight, very light bluish color throughout it, and you can identify this as wisp stalks.
Species wisp stalks.
And what exactly does that do?
They are used in alchemical potions.
Well, I have no need of it if you'd like to add it to your collection.
I would love it. Thank you.
And then these 2 stones. I know this one, holding up the one that had the circle with the lines through it or some bullshit, I don't know. I know was used to repel the darkness down in the, where the mushroom zombies were. This one I'm not quite sure. I haven't learned what it does.
I'll look at them. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably be able to discern at all what they are.
Not really.
Well, Kieran doesn't really
have
know
no
that.
idea.
He just saw this strange warg transforming. Doesn't quite know your limitations.
Do you think that Wiswick can help you out that? I am not familiar with most arcane arts.
Yes. Maybe we shall go pay him a visit. So Kieran gets up to go to visit Wiswick.
Wiswick is oversleeping.
So when you go and knock on Wiswick's door, you hear no response at first.
Let me help you with that. And then I put the ingredients back in my pocket, and then I transform back into a dog or a wolf. And I'm gonna just run at the door and just crash into the to the door.
All right, give me a strength check.
That's a 14.
14. Okay. I mean, it's not locked or anything, so but it doesn't budge at first. But I'd say you give it a second try, and you.
Oh no! Does it make a noise?
Oh yeah. Oh, very loud noise. Wiswick, you do sort of come to it. You hear like a really loud bang up against your door, sort of low, as if a dog just ran into your door.
Whoa! What a wake-up call. Hold on, I'm coming. And I scurry out of bed with like my notes are all sprawled across the bed, and I don't like take time to like pick them up or anything. And I scurry over and I reach up to the doorknob and open it and peek through just very slightly. And I say, "Why are you bothering me so early?"
Well, it's not that early. It was a good 8 hours of long rest that we were supposed to have.
Yeah, but slamming on my doors, they're kind of rude.
I do agree, Timber, that was a bit rude. However,
Timber
I
is
thought,
happy as a dog.
I just thought there was much that we had to discuss given the events.
All right, come in. And I open the door and scurry back into bed.
You notice the scattering of pages and his books open all around where he had fallen asleep the night prior, and he sits sort of amongst the half circle of text all around him.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd also like to imagine that I was not being very secretive about my possessions, and you definitely see the bell and the vials that I had collected from the previous
100%.
time just all over the place.
Yeah, you see an empty vial. You see a stoppered vial of. You took the cloudy yellow one, right?
The cloudy one and the red one that was bubbling.
Yep. So you see the cloudy mixture. You see a red bubbly one that's about half full of this red carbonated like liquid. You see a silver bell sitting there. You see pretty much everything he found and a lot of his other just personal belongings just scattered about.
Timber's gonna go over to the vials and just kind of do like a.
I snap at his snout. I hit it.
Ugh.
Get away from that. It's dangerous.
well, I see you made yourself quite at home. Anyways, I've got these 2 rocks that we found in the druid's longhouse. Here's one that was used to dispel a darkness spell beneath in the dungeon where they were keeping mushroom zombies, similar to that rat that you'd seen. Whereas this one, I'm not quite sure what it does. Also,
Interesting.
this ring I have still that I can't quite take off. Any way you can identify it?
Yeah, I've been meaning to do that, but you see, I'm kind of a little bit out of money, so maybe if you could buy the components for my identify spell.
Of course,
it's
whatever
not
we
too
need.
much, it's really like chump change. Normally I wouldn't bother you with it, but I mean, kind of a little short right now. But if you want me to take a look at those rocks, I can cast some rituals right away, and we can see what types of magic they are.
Of course, that works. I shall see about procuring those components for the identify spell.
Yeah, all you need is just nothing too serious. Just a pearl that's cost 100 gold pieces.
Buy! What? Iluvania!
Bayazura.
Iluvania.
By the 9.
By the dead gods. That's quite a bit of change. Well, I'm sure the Lord would be more than happy to part with such a thing. He does
Yeah,
really like us for some.
We do have a reward coming our way. So yeah, let me get to work here.
And I'm just gonna see if I recognize the runes at first that are on the rocks. If it strikes any chords with me before I start casting a ritual.
Yeah. So give me an Arcana check.
Natural 1.
They are definitely magic runes.
Yep, they're definitely magic runes.
I begin casting my ritual. Detect magic.
Okay. So you see Wiswick sits down and begins to meditate or concentrate his enchantments over the two stones. Is there anything you two would like to do as he's doing that? Also, Scarlet and Cal, you are waking up at this time.
Kieran would just be sitting there waiting to see what happens. Maybe
To-
fidgeting with the ring.
Timber would go back over to the vials now that Wiswick is busy.
Okay. Are you trying to investigate
Right in
them?
front of me.
I know, but you can't stop.
I can still look at you.
And I can look at you too while I do this. Yes, I would like to just give it a little sniff, see if I can recognize them if they're common.
Yeah. Give me an investigation check.
Oh, those are my worst ones. Oh.
12.
I mean, it's hard to discern. The red one has some smells to it that are familiar. The orange one is not familiar, other than you can kind of very barely get some hints of the thorny root that you already examined, smell-wise. The red one smells like it's so faint, but it smells like it might have some similar components to a healing potion. As far as your ritual cast to detect magic, Wiswick, once it goes up, you see the two stones are lighting up, and you see Kieran's ring lighting up. You see your bell lighting up, of course, and any other magical goods you all have. But both the stones have abjuration magic showing around them, and then Kieran's ring is somewhat. It's to you, it looks like enchantment magic, but it's just not quite right. It's like 1 degree off.
Well, it seems like these two stones are abjuration. That usually connects to some sort of, sometimes negative magical abilities, but also barriers of sorts. And I could see how it could be something that allowed you to see passage, could have something to do like a key of sorts. Yeah, that's pretty much where I get from them. As for your ring, it doesn't seem to have anything super telling. Enchantment, maybe? Very difficult. There must be some sort of dark secret behind it. You're gonna have to pay me in order to learn more.
I thought we were friends.
Like I said, it's the spell components. I can't handle that.
Yes.
Just make sure you pay me in pearl. Gold doesn't work.
Very well.
Okay.
Cal would wake up,
Yes.
and I would
Here's some cal.
I would make sure that more Betsy calisthenics. Chill out.
Calisthenic.
I would make sure that my clothes were cleaned, and everything was nice and neat. And then before getting into my clothes, I would do my morning routine, which has been the same for many years, and it's 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 crunches to work out the upper abs. Then some basic running. Well, because we're not. I would go for a run.
It's a 10K. It's a 10K.
Maybe about a 10K run, yeah. But we don't have time for that this morning, so I would just do some basic basic leg kind of dynamic warm up stuff, essentially.
Absolutely.
And then I would make sure that I stopped sweating first, and then change into my clothes.
What's on
So you're
Cal's
naked
workout
for
jams?
all of that.
Yeah, I didn't imagine myself completely naked, but pretty much naked. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm imagining the intro sequence to American Psycho.
Yeah, kind of, but a little less ominous.
With,
a little less.
with no monologuing.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be ominous. It's literally just work, but it's pretty much that exact same And then I would leave my room and look around, and then knock on Scarlet's door, probably.
Okay. Scarlet, you hear a knock.
Before he knocks, all I was doing after I woke up is I'm just gonna like unpack my bag and just kind of organize everything and put it back, put my dagger back in my boot, carefully put the letter back so that it's not gonna get wrinkled or anything like that. Then I'll go answer the door.
Okay. Cal is standing there.
Miss Scarlet, good morning.
Good morning.
I did want to ask you something.
Sure.
What did you think of the Lord's offer?
The offer to go with him to Medwin.
Yes, that one.
Where is Medwin? I forget where it is on the map.
I believe it's northeast.
Correct. Cal is correct. It is northeast of here.
Nerd.
So yeah, so it's sort of so based on like you have a past. You've been to Portslade before,
Yeah.
Anna or Scarlet. Sorry. For those of you who don't know, Anna is Shannon's character in another campaign. Scarlet. So Medwin is north of Portslade. Well, you came northwest to come to Maginset, so it's a little further away from where you. It's actually quite a long journey from what you've heard, and Cal would know it's a long journey from here.
Is it back in the direction of Oxland, or is it the other way?
No, it's away from the lake.
Oh, so it's northwest, not north. Sorry.
Yes, correct. Actually, sorry, that was my bad again. I keep messing up my east and west with left and right. So yeah, so it's northwest of here. Northeast is Oxland.
Okay, but we're not going that way. Okay, thank you. It seemed interesting. I mean, I say we try and question him and get any information out of him before we decide if we're going or not. So it seems like an awful long journey.
It certainly is, especially overland. I think is the right path to take there, right, DM?
Yeah.
Okay. But if he pays well enough, I'm for it. You know, I don't really have anywhere else to be. Plus, money in the pocket is always a benefit.
Quite agree.
Yes. What are you up to today?
Well, I actually wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
You're well versed in manners and formalities, yes?
Moderately. My master trained me to be able to deal with the upper class clientele that we had.
So, this feast that we're going to tonight, do you think that requires more formal garb?
Requires? I mean, my master would say yes, and probably, frankly.
All right. Well, then I suppose we're gonna have to go shopping this week.
Lovely. That was actually part of why I had asked you here. I was going to see if you wanted to come into town and look for a tailor with me.
Well, that sounds just lovely.
Excellent. Shall we gather the rest of everyone?
Let's do it.
I'd like to leave.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess I don't have to leave Scarlet. I was going to say, like, if she needed to do anything else in her room, I'll go get everybody else.
Okay.
I don't need to do anything else. I'll go with you.
Huron, you might want to check your height and maybe your weight. Maybe if there's any strange markings on your body. You know, just keep track of the little things. I mean, no real reason. I'm just saying, like, it's worth just, like, keeping an eye, make sure you're physically fit and all. You seem a little shorter to me today.
Do you think it's the ring? Do you think the ring's making me shorter?
Well, we can't say for sure, because we don't really know what it does, but you know, it's better safe than sorry.
Can you measure me? I don't quite have a measuring... Wait, no. I'd take my quarterstaff and, like, compare it, like, where it would usually sit, maybe shoulder height or whatever, and be like, it seems like I haven't lost any,
Height.
Yes, that's the word. And as for weight, kind of like feeling his stomach. I don't know how this would tell one their weight. I feel
I mean, he
normal.
looks a little.
It's at that
fatter,
point
though,
you hear a
doesn't he?
knock on your door, and Cal shouting for Wiswick.
Where's Wick? Get up!
I'm up. These two
Come in.
already woke me up.
At this point, I start collecting my stuff because I know that we're gonna get like kicked out at some point.
Yeah.
Timber and I are in here. Come on in. Pip pip cheerio.
Well, gentlemen, what was that, Kieran?
What?
What did you just say?
What did you just say?
I
Doesn't
said, well,
Kieran look a
gentlemen,
little
and you
fatter?
I do not. Do I look fat?
said, hip. I don't know, DM, does he look fat?
Kieran, how much did you eat last night?
I ate a small picking of vegetables and grains.
He does not look fat. He looks
Just look-
like Kieran.
Just loose grains? That's what you say?
Yep, like you know the
Like a bird.
grains that you pick.
Like a bird.
Can I
Mostly
confirm?
oats.
Have fun.
Mostly oats.
Mostly oats.
Anyway, gentlemen, we are, Scarlett and I are heading into town to pick up accoutrement for this evening's feast. I wanted to invite you gentlemen if you wanted to pick up anything along with us.
I mean, I'm into anything that's cute. What's a tremont?
What?
I want to know what a tremont is. It sounds adorable.
No, accoutrement. It means clothes.
Oh, okay.
In what language is that?
That's Old Undurian.
Barely spoken anymore.
Almost no one knows it.
Except for your master?
Well, him and my family actually did. It doesn't matter. Let's if you're coming, we're heading out soon.
Well, I got a date with the rich man's library, and I doubt they'll have anything my size anyway, so...
Would you like me to keep an eye out for anything your size?
Possibly. Nothing too flashy.
Understood.
Okay.
I believe
Q?
I will stay here with Wiswick. Would like to speak with the Archdruid.
Okay. If you find any books on language, check them out for me. I'd like to read them.
Of course.
That
I
was
think
to Wiswick, too.
before we do anything, though, we should probably collect our reward. You're gonna need it.
What for?
The accoutrement?
Yes.
You gotta pay for it somehow, right?
Right. That's handled. Don't worry. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I suppose. Was he paying us now? That seemed very vague, and I should have locked that down. That's on me. Is he paying us now, or is he paying us if we decide to go with him? He's extending our contract. I didn't really get that.
I believe he was going to pay us regardless.
Yes, he did say he was going to pay us either way. He
Okay,
did hope
well-
that we went with him, though. I do
Got
mean.
Well, let me finish my breakfast, and then we'll head out.
What would you do?
And you notice Cal is chewing on some of his rations.
By the way, Scarlett, I just real quick, does
Yeah.
Timber have a cloak that you can keep keeping?
He does, but I told him I was keeping it.
Oh, just curious. I just felt something was missing from him.
What are you guys talking about? Why does a dog need a cloak?
To keep
Why
warm.
does anyone need to? Exactly.
I mean,
it's
he's
a
got
wolf.
fur, though.
He's a very chilly wolf.
I wouldn't mind a cloak.
Ask the Lord. I'm sure he'd be more than happy.
It's at
We'll
that
look for
point.
him.
It's at that point you hear a very stern as you see one of the servants is standing at the end of the hallway by the stairs, just sort of. The Lord would like you to join him for breakfast down in the hall.
Glad I didn't eat any of my rations. That would probably spoil anyways, eventually.
I have a fast metabolism. I need to eat. Let's go.
So you are brought down. The servant leads you down into the same long hall. There's just sort of high up windows in the thatched triangular roof with light coming down in, and you see the Lord is just sort of sitting there. There's no one with him. He's just enjoying a breakfast of eggs and bacon and other some porridge. And as he sees you, he just says, "Ah, yes, welcome, come. I thought we would deal with business early over some breakfast."
Good morrow, my lord. Thank you very much. Sit down.
Morning. Takes a seat.
And you see sort of pushes a few platters forward to you. One of bacon, one that looks like some eggs, and then he just looks as, is there anything else I could get you? Servants, we've got quite the store here.
This is excellent, thank you.
I'm sure Timber wouldn't mind some more of that meat that he had last night. Or it doesn't have to be quite that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Please get my my friend Scarlet her hound some fresh meats. And he just sort of like snaps at the servants, and they wander off. So you don't have to decide yet, but I was curious as to what your leanings were for coming with me to Meadowin.
Well, frankly, we haven't all discussed it as a group. Though I do know that some talk of if we would be... it's a twofold question. The first is, in what capacity would we be joining it? Would we be guards along the way, or something a little different?
Well, I'd certainly be employing you in that sense as protection. As I said last night, our numbers are slim in the guard, and it would not be wise of me to bring too large of a party of guards out with our caravan. And seeing as this is a high-profile prisoner, we would do well to have some adventurers with us we can trust, especially those who can employ the use of the arcane, as I've seen and heard of your exploits.
Well, that is a relief then, or at least definitely clears that up. And then there is the matter, and I do not mean to be crass, my lord, but understand that we do need to know what the matter of compensation would be for this kind of a job, as Meadowin is quite far.
Yes, Meadowin is quite a distance from here. It's going to take us quite a few days to get there. Well, see, we're already planning to share with you some of our collections from the Circle of Ash. As far as in the journey itself, I can offer you a group sum of at least, from my personal treasury, 150 gold pieces.
Each.
Oh no, my friend Manuron.
No, this is Dungeons and Dragons. The economy is totally fucked.
It's certainly nothing makes sense. Your porridge is going to cost you 7 gold, but I can't part with 7 gold.
Oh, that sword is worth 30,000 gold, enough to
Yes.
buy the entire kingdom?
And my castle cost me 300 gold to build. Do you think I would do that? No, 150 gold to split amongst you for, quite a week's worth of work at least. It won't take us a week to get there unless there's trouble, but it will certainly, I'm sure you would like to stay with us for a few days there to protect us, and you can come back or we can part ways there.
Excellent.
And we can hire others to protect us on the way home, but I do hope you would continue our business relationship.
Understood, my lord. As I'm sure you would allow, we do need some time to think it over and discuss it. Either way, we will be here through at least the feast day. We will let you know, I would say, by tonight.
Excellent.
Your plans for the morrow. Another matter that is perhaps a tad crass as well, but we were wondering if we could get our share of the loot from the Druid's Palace before leaving. We're going to head into town for the day. and pick up some provisions, and the money would obviously help, or our reward would help us gather.
Yes, of course. Certainly. Dashes over for a servant who returns, exits out into the another room. He says, "Well, you see, there's certainly a large sum of treasure, as you may have seen in the Druid's Hall. But a large portion of that is belonging to the town, and it will be returned to the community, especially as I've been advised to do, to compensate some of the families of Archdruid Orlan's crimes. But we were able to keep some to go to my own treasury and as well as your pockets. And at that point, the servant comes in with a small chest, drops down on the table and opens it up. Says, and we have here, whoa, 100 gold pieces for your taking.
I split it into quarters, pass it out.
None for Timber.
He's a wolf. He doesn't eat what?
That's what happens when you're a wolf all the time.
When you're a
No one
dog.
gives you gold. So you each get 25 gold pieces.
Cool.
Kind of, Kieran would look at Timber and goes, "Well, I don't know. Shouldn't we at least allocate something, in case the wolf needs a bone?"
I mean, we could just buy a chicken and give him a bone. I don't.
Right. Yeah.
You want me to pay the wolf out of? I mean, yes, he's wonderful. He's a good companion, but what is he gonna do? He can't spend it.
Don't worry about it. I'll cover Timber's.
That's what I figured, and I will buy him food if he needs it. Not a big deal.
Right. Okay. Also, my lord, the things that you've taken from the Archdruids, I was wondering if I could look through them. There was a few books that I thought might be helpful. I believe I saw one of your guards bringing it back. A red leather-bound book.
I'm unsure of which trinket you're talking about. I haven't had time myself to peruse what we've gathered from their quarters. A lot of it will need to be kept by us.
Of course, I just mean to look at it simply, just to see what they were up to. As I mentioned, there's something larger afoot here. I would like to look into.
No, certainly, and I do mean that your continued business with us would be to ensure whatever is larger at foot is dealt with, so that we do not need to continue dealing with zealots. That we can return our people to their humble traditions with no blood.
Zealots.
I hate zealots.
He sort of gestures and says, "Well, I also believe I owe my little friend here, my Sniff Leblin, some access to my libraries."
Why, yes, I'm quite excited. I stayed up late last night thinking about it.
Absolutely. Well, my estate's librarian is willing to accompany you into our studies for a total of 1 hour for you to peruse and find what you'd like. And I have given him permission to allow you to cover one text from the library to bring with you on our journey.
Well, that is mighty considerate.
As long as you come with us. If not, then that text will be yours for the evening.
Well, it is a library. I wouldn't want to steal what knowledge is for the people, right?
Of course.
I guess I will have to think about that. I really do appreciate the offer, though. It's definitely putting you more towards the side of... I didn't really have any reason to come with you, honestly. But,
and
now...
The Lord chuckles at that. I understand. I truly do that it may seem a strange request since we've only been working together for one evening. But good adventurers, hard workers, those with talent are hard to come by, especially in Tressex. And I have a vested interest in, well, investing in talent.
You're very perceptive, Harland. We've been cool since we first met. I think this is going to be a wonderful relationship. By the way, I think that maybe my friend Manuron had some interest in coming with me into the library. Perhaps he can join me.
If it's all right, my lord, I don't mean to intrude. It's just, knowledge, power.
Well, certainly, you can accompany Wiswick into the library Manuron, but I'm afraid you will not be able to take a book out as well. We've only
I understand. No
made
worries.
arrangements for one text to be taken from the library. But certainly, you may both join my estate's librarian into the study to look for any text that you'd be interested in.
Fantastic.
As for the rest of you, I do hope you enjoy your profits of this endeavor, and please enjoy Maginset. Despite the dirty deeds that we must have completed, there are still quite a few sights to be seen, and shops to be visited, and I'm certain that several of the merchants who are traveling are still in town.
Thank you, my lord.
Of course. Thank you for joining me, and if you have any other requests, you can speak with Milo here. And you see the man who brought you down is sort of just standing there with his arms behind his back, just looking forward. I bid you adieu, and I shall see you for the feast tonight. Try to be here by sunset for the festivities.
Thank you, my lord.
I want to pull Kieran aside at one point when I notice maybe everybody just seems distracted. I'm gonna whisper to him. I'm gonna say,
I have a sneaky plan if you're interested.
Wiswick, you devil.
I've got a wonderful spell in my spell book that I believe I have gained the experience to concoct. It is known as invisibility.
Well, butter my buns and call me Biscuit. I know the spell as well.
Well, it's the perfect amount of time for you to go adventuring if I distract this librarian as I study, asking him questions and such. Maybe you can go and find out a little something about what this, about the Archdruid, or where he's hiding, or anything else you'd like to do.
I appreciate that very much. It's not quite my style to go.
Well, I
agree.
mean,
The
we
more
could
info
trade
we have-
spaces, but you're gonna have to find something good in the library for me to borrow.
No, I'll leave that up to you.
Very well. If you don't want to do it, I mean, I'm just offering.
Oh no, I will. I believe that's a great idea.
All right then, we're on.
Okay. So the three of you, Scarlet, Timber, and Cal, are planning on heading into town. Wiswick and Kieran are going to be heading into the Lord's study to observe his library with the librarian. Before we head into that,
I'm actually going to go with Kieran and Wiswick.
Easy enough to do.
Timber doesn't need
Scarlet, do you feel
clothes.
abandoned?
Man.
A little bit.
Timber doesn't need clothes.
He needs a cloak.
You haven't
apparently.
talked to me all morning, man.
Giving you the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
Cold
See,
genitalia.
it must be cold without that cloak.
Yeah. Oh. If only I could get it warmed up.
So you all easily enough finish your breakfast and plan to go about your day's business.
Kieran actually chokes a little.
Chokes on a particularly undercooked asparagus.
For breakfast? Disgusting.
You've never had Brexparagus?
So we're just going to jump right into the day's activities. For unless there's a specific conversation you want to have, Cal and Scarlet, I'm thinking that we can sort of speed RP through buying clothes, and then check in with Kieran and the rest in the library. But yeah, when you exit out of the keep after your breakfast, there is a smallish crowd of people kind of moving through the town. There's not quite as many. You've noticed that quite a few of the visitors have left at this point. It's kind of like that third day of the festival where there's like really gross like hay on the ground that was soaking up all the mud, and it's just great smells. People are cleaning up their carts. There's a few merchants left in town who are just sort of milling about. You leave the circle of the hearth and easily enough get into the circle of the market, and
Cut to montage. Cal and
tell me what you're
Scarlet
looking for.
trying on different outfits and be like, "Ooh, I like that on you. Ooh, I'm not a big fan of that." And then like, we don't show us we buy any clothes yet, but then we cut to us sitting in like a cafe, people watching, and we're like judging everyone that walks by, and then we cut back to trying on clothes, and then we see like we walk out with nice bags. Those bags.
In those bags are some nice clothes for you, Cal, some nice clothes for Scarlet.
And
They're
a
not
hat. I buy a hat.
okay.
It's very important.
How big of a hat?
It's not huge, but it's not small. It's not a small hat.
Hey Tim, why don't you put it on, Tim?
Actually,
Why don't you put it on?
Yeah, I can put it on. I can put it on. It looks a lot like this.
Yes.
It's in fact
Exactly what I thought of. I'd say it was. There's only like one tailor in town, and he was pretty well stocked because of the festivities. So it's easy enough to find the clothes you want. They're not super high quality, like
Sure.
you know, they're not noblemen's wares, but they're definitely above the peasant garb and definitely something nicer to wear to a feast. You could easily enough find a hat. It doesn't have a feather in it, so you have to find your own feather. But easy enough.
Whatever I end up buying, can I just make sure that it covers up here?
Yeah, easy enough. Like you can imagine you buy nicer garb, not like a dress or anything, but just sort of similar to Cal's attire, I imagine, as best you can get with a feast cloak, I'll say, that just sort of covers the upper portion, kind of maybe comes a little high on the neck, and then it's not a long cloak, but it is a short cloak in the back that has its own sort of tressing. Altogether, I'd say for each of you, it would cost about.
I want to get mirrors of the clothes that I bought for myself, but in children's size.
Okay, and I'm guessing you want like as close to exactly what you're wearing as possible.
Exactly the same thing.
So it takes a little while. It takes you a little while to work with the tailor, who's like finding little like putting together a similar outfit. It's not quite exactly the same, but it'll do. But you do find what appears to be. How tall are you, Wiswick?
Put 3 feet 5 inches, something like that.
What appears to be a very young child, like maybe like a special birthday, special like Everflame ritual for a youth entering into childhood, a toddler entering into childhood. I'm not gonna say a baptism gown, but yeah, a first flame ritual, Everflame ritual communion garb that's similar to your own. So I'll say for Scarlet to find just her sort of similar outfit. What colors are you looking to get it in, Scarlet?
Black.
Black. Okay. Easy enough. So it'll probably cost you about 3 gold pieces. And And then for Cal, what colors is it? You had blue attire before, right?
I was wearing white.
Okay. Are you looking to get a? Ah, there he is. Are you looking? Ooh, that's nice.
Thank
It's well painted.
I'm looking. I mean, for feast day, let's change it up a little. Let's. What are the traditional colors of Tressex, and what are this lord's colors?
So this lord's colors are somewhat of a burnt umber and a vibrant but slightly darker green color.
Would you call it forest green?
I might call it forest green. So a sort of a burnt orange color as the backdrop with the green color coming forward.
Then I'm going to do a forest green jacket with burnt umber like detailing on the collar and the sleeves, but then not change really anything else. The rest is like I'm not wearing his colors per se, but like close, you know.
There's flashes of his colors.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Easy enough. And for you, that plus your child's clothing for Wiswick is going to run you about 5 gold pieces.
5 gold pieces. I'm going to talk him down.
Would you like to talk the?
I would.
All right, give me a persuasion check.
Okay, it's an 11.
The tailor, it's a very older gentleman. He's just, and these are the only threads you're gonna get for 100 miles. This quality.
100 miles.
100 miles. Maybe 150. I don't know.
Well, for 150, of course, I'll pay full price.
Easy enough. So it takes the gold from you, wraps it all up in nice packaging for you, and you're on your way. I will say, the only thing that you might notice is Scarlet. You do notice a familiar cart in the middle of the circle, packing up and kind of getting ready to leave, and you see a donkey that looks hardened, like it's experienced a lot of turmoil, like it's seen battle almost. And you see a goat on the back of the cart.
Is this Betty and Leaf?
And you see a man, a rotund man with a very aggressive mustache and a hat bigger than Cal's. And he's just sort of packing up his cart, getting ready to leave. It is Mycroft, the merchant.
Thank you for saying his name. As we're walking back, I'll kind of just like walk by and good morning.
Oh, Scarlet.
That's it.
Scarlet, yes, of course. Yes, of course. I'm so happy to see you. I thought I'd see you at the festivities.
Oh, we got caught up in some other things. Did you attend?
Oh, well, of course. I sold most of my goods. I picked up some even better goods for cheap. Where's your hound?
He's not. He's not speaking to me at the moment. I mean, he doesn't really speak because he's a wolf, but metaphorically speaking.
Well, he was quite loud when we were traveling together. Did you get to enjoy the festivities yourself?
Yes, we did. It was quite lovely. We're actually heading back to finish the celebration.
Oh, yes, I've heard there's quite a feast going on tonight. Think you can get your old friend Mycroft in? I'd love to rub shoulders with that crowd. Sell all sorts of wares. Make a fortune.
We can definitely see what we can do.
I raised my eyebrows skeptically.
Yeah, this guy, Cal, with your sort of instincts, this man seems like a grifter amongst grifters. I've just, I have so many wares to sell now. I've sold all the cheap goods I found in Portslade, and now I've got some real special stuff. You might be interested yourself.
Oh, really?
Mycroft has wares if you have coin.
Mycroft has wares if you have coin.
Why don't you show me what you've got?
Oh, yes. You see here, he slaps a crate that's in the back. He says, I'm willing to show you the contents of this crate. I was keeping it secret before because I was not sure you had coin, but judging by the packaging in your arms right now, I'd say you may have come upon some coin beyond the coin I paid you.
You assume correctly.
Oh, well, you see here, he opens it up, and you see a row of vials within. You see here, I've got some of the best potions.
Do tell.
See, I myself, I dabble in the alchemical arts as much as a traveling merchant can. And you see, I have an array of colors here. And you see the potions. The potions are like the spectrum of a rainbow along the length of the box. There's probably about 12 potions in there, ranging from like bright reds to purples to greens to blues.
What do the indigo ones do?
Oh, the indigo ones. You see those ones. They'll make you fight ferociously, make you fight with the strength of 1,000 men. You can cut down any spiders.
Because those are spiders that look.
Do you remember those spiders? We've been through so much together, Scarlet.
They're so hard to forget.
Oh, well, I do thank you again for saving my donkey and my good goat Leaf. Now,
Donkey.
Now, can I interest you in any of these potions?
Do you have anything that... Well, I do pride myself on being quite stealthy, but do you have anything that would make me even more so?
Oh, make you light on your feet. Make you just disappear into the darkness.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
Traversing any darkness.
That's exactly right.
One, I think I might. And you see he goes over and he pulls out a very thin vial of a very light green liquid. He's like, this here. This will make your steps have no sounds at all. You'll step, and no one will hear you at all.
And how much would that cost?
It will cost you 25 gold pieces.
Oh. Well...
Which, a woman of your taste, of your new companions, chump change.
And how about any potions of healing? Do you have any of those on you?
Potions of healing. A classic. Worthy for an adventurer like you. And perhaps your friend here, he's got that fancy blade. Would you like some potions as well?
I'm okay, thank you.
Oh, well, perhaps we can convince him, right, Scarlet? Good friends, us.
Good try.
He pulls out another little vial, same size, red liquid inside. It's a slight pinkish hue. He's like, this here, a great potion of healing. I've got at least 3 here of varying grades and quality. This one will it'll give you a little kick, give you a little bit of health back. It's about the weakest I've got, the cheapest I've got, but I've also got a slightly better one. He pulls out another one that's a darker red, and then he's got this really strong one, darkest of reds. Heal you right up. You could fight a dragon. Drink this potion, back to full health.
I assume that one's pretty expensive.
Oh, extraordinarily expensive.
Can I roll maybe insight or something probably insight to try to figure out if any of this is real or if it's all bull crap or like what this guy is chilling here?
Give me an insight check.
All right, here we go. Nat 20. No.
Really?
No. 12. So nice big 12 for you.
He's, I mean, just judging by his character, like there could be some grifting going on, but you're not sure if these potions would do anything or if they are exactly like he's saying. He's just trying to get her to spend a lot of gold. So, can I interest you in one of these 3 beautiful, beautiful healing potions? This one here will cost you 50 gold pieces. This one here will cost you 150 gold pieces. And this one here will cost you 500 gold pieces.
Mycroft, I believe. As much as it was a pleasure to meet you, my master told me to say no to potions. So I'm okay, and I wish to thank you for your time.
Oh, well, that's okay, my friend here. What is your name?
Cal.
Cal, you sound of a man of culture and knowledge. I recognize a higher nobility in your voice. Now, certainly you can tell these potions are of the finest quality, and I understand it is a lot of gold. It is a lot of gold, and that's why I'd say for this minor healing potion here, I'll let it go for 40 gold pieces instead of 50.
Now, Mycroft, you tell me, why would I buy a minor healing potion from you for 40 gold when I could get it down the street for 15?
15 gold for a healing potion? I'd like to see that store. I'll buy them all up, sell them for 30 gold.
See, and the fact that you just said that makes me a little skeptical to want to meet your prices, as it were.
Well, you see, standard price for gold or for a healing potion, 50 gold pieces. Any town you go to where there's an alchemist. Oh, I can tell you for 40 gold.
Is that true? Based on my knowledge and my moderately extensive travel, is that true?
Yeah, you've traveled quite a bit. You would have stopped in several towns where there would be at least a local alchemist who may have a potion or two in his stores. It is strange that it's strange that he claims to have stronger healing potions, because you don't expect that from a traveler. But standardly, it's typically around 50 gold, depending on the region. Some places may be lighter if they have a higher stock. Some places more if it's a conflict area. But 50 is the typical average.
Well, Mycroft, how long will you be in town? Are you leaving now?
Oh, well, I'll be here at least one more day. You see, I must be on my way. This town, I've sold all I can here.
Excellent.
But maybe a little bit more with you.
Well, I'll be sure to come and visit you before tomorrow is out.
I hope to see you. I will be right outside the gates sleeping on my cot with my good friend Beth and Leaf here. Now, my good friend Enna. Oh, my good friend Scarlet. This is not the other campaign.
My good tally.
I know, it's terrible.
It's great. It's great.
My good friend Scarlet, would you be interested in this discounted health potion?
Most unfortunately, I do not find myself quite that flush with gold.
Oh, well, it is a terrible shame. I could potentially let it go for 35 gold pieces.
I'd like to stand a little off to the side and shake my head frantically.
Seeing him do that, I think I'm going to wait on that one. But do tell me again about that the light green potion, and I'll look at Cal and see what he says about that one.
Oh yes, of course. This potion, it's made of the finest enchanting ingredients I could find. I could purchase with my gold I've made here. I travel quite a lot, and I only hire the best.
And you did.
And I did, and I have all manner of herbalists who work with me to find the finest ingredients to create the most valuable potions. So this one here, it is a steal at 25 gold pieces to give you the most deft steps of your life. It'll be quieter than when you snuck in your parents' home at night.
I would like to figure out how much of what he just said is bullshit.
Give me an insight check.
Yep. That's better. That's definitely better. It's a 19 plus 0. It's a 19.
It's 19. Bullshit.
Okay.
That's like a potion might like do something so minor. Placebo through and through.
Okay, I'm shaking my head.
My dear Mycroft, I do appreciate the bargain, but I think I'm going to save for a little while. I have some bigger purchases on the horizon.
Well, I do hope you would keep me in mind when you begin to save this hoard of treasure of yours. I'm certain a woman of your talent, you're flush with coin, and these potions will do nothing in my box. But I understand. I do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mycroft. It was lovely to meet you. I hope you have a wonderful day and bid you a fond adieu if I do not see you again.
to this point that the goat Leaf just sort of like and just like, bits a little down onto Mycroft's like cloak. He's like, "Oh, Leaf, you beast! I'm so rude. I apologize, Miss Scarlet, and I do hope to see you again and to make your wildest dreams come true with my wares." Now,
It was lovely to see you, Michael.
and if you need any work again, please feel free to come to me.
You're the
I will
first
need-
person I'm going to come.
I will certainly need protection in the future.
Understood.
A pleasure to meet you, Sir Cal.
And you, Mr. Mike.
And at that, he gives you a smile and closes his case up, locks it, and begins messing around with his crates.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'd like to walk away. And one more thing before we get back.
Mhm.
I do want to talk to Scarlet and be like, so, Scarlet,
Yes.
does Timber usually act so moody with you?
No, I'm not quite sure what happened.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And are you okay?
for now. But a lot on my mind.
Understood. Odd music as we pass that shop there.
As you passed the shop, you saw a bard just plucking a few strings.
Well, if you ever want to talk to anyone, feel free to talk to me. And then he kind of like shuts down after he says that.
Much appreciated. But I don't want to burden you.
Well, we've all got our own thing. But if we're going to be traveling together, we should at least feel a little bit comfortable doing that.
Yes. Not quite sure I'm ready to speak about what's happened, but
Okay, that is not at all how I wanted that to go. Sure. Sounds good.
Easy enough, or difficult enough. I'd say this general shopping montage took you the better part of the morning. So I'd say it's about approaching that noon time when you start heading back to Lord's Manor. At which point we will stop back in with our friends Wiswick and Curon and Timber.
Do you want to just like kind of metagame this to quicken?
Yeah, we'll do the same thing we just did there, but whatever comes up, yeah, we'll do.
Okay. Let other people go first.
Yeah, yes. So the sorry, the Milo, the servant, brings you both to the I guess Timber as well. Brings all three of you to. Yeah.
Sorry, just while we're going, Kieran would ask Milo where the Archdruid is being kept and where the stuff that they took from the Druid Longhouse are being kept.
So yeah, and he would easily enough tell you at least where the Archdruid is. He just would say, the Archdruid is kept down in the personal prison of our Lord Harrison. As far as the effects of the Archdruid or any sort of treasures coming from the hall, I'd have no awareness of that. I do not know my lord's need for such items, nor if they would even be here. It's not part of my job.
Fair enough, just curious.
And he easily enough brings you to the library, opens the door, leads you in. What you see inside is some very beautiful lattice work windows and very tall bookshelves. There's at least 8 bookshelves that are double stacked to the ceiling, lattice work windows between, candlelight everywhere. And you see at a desk in the middle of the room is a very young woman, actually, with blonde hair, who's just sort of taking notes and looking over at another text as you come in.
Hello?
Oh yes, are you the two that the Lord said would stop by today?
That is I.
Oh yes, well, I will keep a close eye on you, but please take a look at whatever you would like. There's no secrets here. All the books are at your disposal. But please check in with me when you are to leave. You have 1 hour from here.
Yes, I believe so. Do you, might I inquire as to what you're reading?
Yes, well, I'm reading the history of the Lords of Magin's sets, just taking notes from my liege and managing, making sure the text is preserved.
Well, that is quite considerate of you. Looking into the history of your people, it seemed that your lord was very, he was quite interested in the matter. I'm glad that he has somebody that he can bounce his ideologies off of.
Indeed.
What is the layout of this room? Is the only entrance, exit the one we came in?
Yeah, so the only entrance is the one you came in. It's a rectangle, and then on either end there's a half circle where there's a bookshelf all along the inside of that half circle.
Okay, and she's right in the center?
She's essentially right in the center. There's windows in the back, and she's just sort of working on her text.
Are there guards outside?
There's not guards that are like posted outside this door. But
Okay, just like patrols.
Yeah, you generally noticed at least a handful of men just sort of meandering in a seemingly ordered way throughout, keeping an eye around.
Okay, and doors. We talking about big door leading in and out of this room?
Yeah, there's a tall door. Double doors, very tall
love
to
it.
the ceiling.
Oh, beautiful.
Fine wood.
Of course.
Timber would like to browse around the library and look for kind of like either a hidden section or just like an area that they don't really want people going to.
Okay.
Could be blocked off, or it could just not be seen altogether. Just some sort of area that.
Give me an investigation check.
That's an 11.
So the room is fairly open. You know, the layout doesn't really prescribe itself to like a restricted section. You imagine that any text that they didn't want you seeing is probably either removed or in a different location.
Wiswick, how about we start over here? And Kieran brings Wiswick around to like one of the corner alcove things. And kind of like moves himself out of sight. All right, my friend. So, I'll cast invisibility on myself, but I need you to distract the librarian. Those doors are way too large for me to get out without her noticing.
I've got just the thing. Don't you worry.
I never do, friend. And then with that, I like to imagine Kieran takes his hand and like how he usually places it on people's heads. He places it on his own head and just casts invisibility.
As he does that, I reach into my trench coat and suddenly a bat appears inside. And I say,
Your 4 favorite words, little buddy. Go batshit crazy.
And you
and
see
he immediately starts knocking stuff off the shelves.
Absolutely. So you just immediately see Jet skid across the entire library to the opposite side away from where you had just cast the spell and just begins knocking books off, just and just the wings flapping. Timber, you were just sort of like looking around and you start to see books falling down from the top shelves all around you. Like one like hits you on the head a little bit and you're just sort of amidst this chaos and you see the librarian immediately stands up just what is this? How did a bat get in here? And she just,
my goodness, I'm so sorry.
What's this, your bat?
Open the door, it'll go out. Shoo.
All right. One of two things. I'd like Wiswick to just give me a performance check. And I'd like Curon to just give me a stealth check with advantage.
All right, 0 modifier. Let's see it. 17.
Hey, 17.
Hey.
Right? Wait, let me double check that. Yeah, 17.
So it seems that her general disinterest in you in the beginning has served to help you here, and that she really didn't even much notice exactly who came in. She just knew that the gnome talked to her. She didn't even look up to see the gnome speaking to her, so she just sort of immediately is not concerned with there being a person missing at this point. So Curon, you're able to avoid being detected going invisible, and she does. You see her rush forward and just opens the doors wide open, and you see her rush to the windows and sort of wind them open, and just she starts to like flap a tablecloth up at Jet amidst the chaos, and Curon, you are able to slip out of the room.
Fantastic.
All right, what would you like to do, Curon, now that you're out of the room?
All right, first thing Kieran would like to do is make his way to the Archdruid.
Okay.
On
All
his
right.
way, he would be poking his nose into any open, not like a full poking the nose, but basically looking where he can to see if he can see where the Archdruid's effects had been brought. You know, the stuff they'd taken.
Yeah. So what I'd like you to do is give me a investigation check to essentially find your way to the Archdruid. You do know, the best you know is that he is below somewhere. So you're essentially looking for passages down to the basement area, so to speak.
Could I use insight and be like, if I was the person that designed a Lord's Manor, how might I create access?
Well, I'll just tell you right away, your insight is that it's probably downstairs somewhere.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Is all you're going off of his...
All right, I got a 2.
I mean,
So
you have been in here like 2 times already. You know where not to go.
No, it's true. And it's not, and thinking of it this way, it's not about how not finding it, it's about how long this is going to take.
Right. Yeah, so I got a 2.
How long does invisibility last?
An hour.
Okay. So it doesn't use up all of your invisibility, but it does take you about a half hour. Sort of like in that, you know, that way when you're looking for your keys, and you're just like sort of running back and forth between rooms, looking at the exact same things. So you spend an awful lot of time kind of walking into random rooms. There's just sort of like storage or just leisure areas before you do find down it's somewhat hidden in the corner of the area behind the dais of the Great Hall is a very narrow passageway that leads down. That leads down into a basement area. When you go down that path, you do notice you do hear the sound of guards below.
Okay. So I will stealthily descend the rest of the way.
All right, give me a stealth check with advantage.
Ooh, 19.
Okay. So when you get down below, you see as you get down, it goes quite a ways down, and it is a spiral before you exit out into a large open space where you see a table to your right with 2 guards sitting at it, just sort of they're talking lightly. You see they're playing some cards actually, and then directly across you see a barred gate with a guard leaning against the wall on the left. So there's 3 guards in the room, 1 directly across, 2 to your right playing cards. The one directly across is just leaning against the wall, just sort of on duty. Through the bars, you can see what leads to essentially a larger room with several cells in it. Hard to see exactly what's in there.
Okay. So Kieran would approach the guarded door If I looked at it, can I tell if it's locked in any way?
So as you reach the bottom of the steps, you can see that it is. It does have a large locking mechanism on it. You do see the guard standing right next to it does have a ring of keys on his belt.
Well, let's see. All right, you know what Kieran's gonna do? He's gonna proceed back up the steps.
Okay.
He's going to take off his invisibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he walks down, he's going to use minor illusion to create a sound. The sound being Lord whatever his name, Hammerfall or something.
Harrodson.
You wrote it
Hibbensaw.
down.
Kieran doesn't remember, and I refuse to write it down now. So he would imitate that noise, or the Lord's voice, and have him say, God, men, I'm sending the elf to talk to the Archdruid. Please let him through. And then as he says that, Kieran would walk down and kind of give a little wave.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like you to do then, so with the assistance of the voice of the Lord, I would like you to roll just a general, just persuasion check with advantage. What does Kieran say anything when he gets down?
He just kind of gives a little curt nod, like, I'm supposed to be here. Did you not just hear him?
Mhm.
Let's do this. Forgot what my modifiers. That's a 13.
Okay. Okay. So you see the two guards playing cards. They sort of, the one on the far side of you just sort of looks up like, well, I thought the Lord was preparing for the party. And you see the keymaster across is like, Lord Harrison sent you down here?
Yes. Did you not hear him? I'm just here to speak to the Archdruid for him. I have some knowledge in the dead gods, and he believed I would be able to get the most from the Archdruid this time.
Is he still up there?
I don't know. Lord, are you there? It looks like he had to go prep for that feast. He's a very busy man. I bothered him a little bit. I had to, pull that hole. I helped you take down the Archdruid in that large, monstrous construct he had, so he was feeling generous.
Give me one more persuasion check. Straight persuasion, no advantage.
13 again.
So the keymaster looks really narrows his eyes at you and says, "All right, well, I'll let you in. I'm gonna go find the Lord while you're talking to him."
Yes, of course. That's fine.
All right, boys, keep an eye on him. And you see they're sort of like, yeah, okay. As they go
And
back
I give
to
him
their
a little
cards.
wave, like, hello.
And you see he turns back and he opens the front gate. Just, I won't be able to talk to you much, I'm afraid, but you can certainly see what you can find. I'll be back with the Lord. You see he wanders up the steps and you hear him up there, and he sort of leaves the gate open for you to step in.
Kieran steps in.
Yep. As you step in, it's sort of similar to the well, you never saw those, but it's there's several different cells. It's a fairly compact space. There's 2 cells on your left and right, and then there's one large one in the back that's sort of half the room. When you approach, there's very light torchlight on either side, but with your dark vision, you can see quite clearly in your shades of blue and orange. And as you approach, you see in the middle of the cell, in the back, is the Archdruid's form. He is in, very like bare threads, prisoner clothes. He is on his knees. His ankles are shackled together, and his arms are shackled up like this to chains on the ceiling. And he has a sort of like an iron mask over his mouth with a chain tying it around the back of his neck. No mask. You can just see sort of this very loose, balding gray hair, just sort of this weird amalgam where there's like thinning between the long strands of hair that come down. These very vibrantly green eyes that are sort of like going in and out, but he's just hanging there. His mouth is completely covered and muffled.
Well, tits. So Kieran will. He's upset. Kieran's pretty upset. He didn't really think this through. Though I guess it kind of makes sense to muffle a mage user that can use verbal to cast spells. So he'll still approach the cell and look at him. Is the Archdruid looking back?
As soon as you start to step in and he really hears your steps, he sort of goes from this dazed look to a very pointed, eyes up, staring directly at you.
Hello there, Archdruid. I was hoping we could have a little chat, but that appears a little past you at the moment.
And he sort of like very difficultly untwists his legs and stands up, comes closer to the edge as close as he can get before it's all taut. Just
at this point, Kieran is up against like the cage, like holding onto a bar or something.
Yeah, and he's like about like very close. Like he's about 5 inches from the edge of the cage, and his arms are taut back, just sort of the very green eyes staring back at you. His skin appears like his hair is obviously gray and thin, but his skin is quite alive, and he doesn't look as old as his hair would suggest.
What are you doing down there, Wiswick? What are the motions?
A little ring motion. Just giving a little hit.
Oh. I don't get it. The mask on him, how hard would that be to take off? Or what's the construct like? Is it locked? Is it just a clasp that I can undo?
It's locked for sure. Like you can tell that there's some sort of locking mechanism on the back.
Well, how are you doing? Kieran asks.
You hear the chains rattling as he just sort of
I hold up my hand and point to the ring, and I go, can you help me with this?
You sort of see, like, it's hard to tell any facial expressions, but you kind of see the cheeks come up a little as you can tell he's smiling under that clasp.
Yeah, right. Well, and then I take out the journal, and I'm like, I've got this of yours, and it might take some time, but I'll figure out what's in here, and I'll learn everything I need to about in what you've been doing. I don't believe any god worth their weight in gold would be okay with the sacrifice of innocence to be brought back. You're quite a monster, you know that? Kieran says, putting the journal back in.
And sort of as you put the journal back in, you do notice there's this like there's a frustration behind his eyes as he sees the journal and sees you pocket it away.
Kieran turns to like leave, but then turns back and he goes, The Pallid Mask. Well, you can't answer anyways. So, Kieran is now confused and doesn't know what to do. Do we want to go to someone else real quick while I think this out?
Yeah, we can. Let's cut back to Wiswick as Jet is scattering around during this whole time of Kieran and trying to find the Archdruid.
I think that as soon as I realize, well, I guess I wouldn't really realize if Kieran left or not, but as soon as the door is open for a little while, I like telepathically mention to my bat to like fly out the door.
Yeah, easy enough.
And like as soon as he goes out the door, he'll like just disappear, like I'm chasing him out.
Okay. Yeah, easy enough. Jet scatters out as soon as you know Kieran has left or has enough time to leave and into his pocket dimension.
Oh my! That was quite a scare. I apologize. I don't know how that thing got out.
Is that yours?
Well, yes, but usually he's quite tame. I don't know what got over him.
You gonna help me clean up all these books?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, as long as it doesn't cut into my reading time, I'm happy to stay a little longer.
I feel like I'm this character's like a school teacher, like scolding you. It's like, well, it may certainly will count into your time with the books. You'll be working with the books as you put them back in the shelves.
Well, I mean, we've got to agree with that. I mean, I have strict permissions from your lord, right? Like, he's gonna... It's not my fault that the books fell down.
Well, you've already admitted it is your fault. You said the bat was yours. You let a bat...
I have no control over the bat.
Give me a deception check.
That is a 3 + 0.
You're going to stay with me as long as it takes to put these books back. You can look at the books as you put them back.
Okay, but you'll help, right?
Of course I will.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh, okay. And she she goes and pulls like a ladder out and sets it down and starts to stack books in her arms and she immediately puts one in your arms. What would you like to do, Wiswick?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to casually talk with her, but my main objective here is to find a spell book of sorts. Whatever you might be finding. Cal mentioned something earlier about languages, so if there's any spells that have regarding to languages, that would be the main goal.
Okay, so I would ask
to also top that, Timber would also be looking through free alchemy books.
Okay, Timber, I'd like you to give me an investigation check, and same for you, Wiswick.
Okay, great. Could I get assistance from the librarian if I ask her?
Ask her.
You are such a smart woman, and I must say, I really do respect you. You must know where every single book is supposed to go. So, I mean, you definitely know if there are any spell books around here, or where they might help someone, maybe a particular gnome, learn how to speak different languages, or other magical powers.
Give me a persuasion check.
17.
Quite high. So she returns. She looks back to you, and she's sort of frustrated as she's got a stack of books and she's about to start climbing the ladder. She just looks at you as, spell books you looking for? I can't say I know of any spell books in Lord Harrenson's library and study. Comprehending languages, there's a few texts on language, not spell books for any sort of shortcuts for your studies, but I could certainly see about finding a specific book on languages. Are there any languages in particular you're interested in?
I'm going to take out my book that has that's filled with languages. And I'm gonna say,
maybe you can peruse through this book that I have discovered on my travels. It seems to be written in many different languages, probably quite difficult to decipher, but anything you can recognize will help.
Well,
I
I do.
already know Dwarvish, Gnomish, and Undercommon.
Fair enough. I will take a look at it, but you must finish cleaning this up.
Oh, of course. Yes.
And I'll take a look to see if I can discern the languages. I do know quite a few myself. And she takes the book from your hands, and she returns to her desk to begin studying, to leave you to clean up the books on your own.
okay, I clean up the books, and in the meantime, I peruse, but nothing too serious. Like, my main goal is already being accomplished, so
Okay.
I'm quite happy.
Okay. Timber, was your investigation check?
12.
12. Couldn't really find any alchemist books because you really only had access to what fell on the floor and what's in the lower shelves, and
Right.
there wasn't really anything that you could immediately discern. Wiswick, would I guess roll investigation for the books that you're sort of perusing as you put them back.
I guess if I had to think of another subject I'd be interested in, might be like geology, or perhaps if there's any ancient ruins or places where I might think that there's some magical mystery behind it.
Cool.
I got a 16. It's investigation. So 22.
Okay. Oh wow. Oh shit. All right. So you do sort of investigate through the books that you're able to put away. You see some that might be interesting to these topics. Ancient history of Trinwald Valley, but nothing necessarily that's you think would point you towards magical ruins. There's really just a few texts you see on maybe ancient cultures of the Trinwald Valley or history of the Crownlands.
Trinwald Valley. Trinwald? Okay. Definitely piques my interest. All right, that's pretty much it. I'm holding the Trinwald Valley book in my hands as I wait for her to finish her studies.
Okay.
After I've cleaned up, of course.
Absolutely. So it would take a while for her to really look at it. She actually stops as you're kind of like sitting there watching as you finished. Sort of looks over and you says, "I believe you'd have a better luck returning to me tomorrow. This is quite complicated, and I have not recognized much of these languages, but I can cross-reference them with some other texts I know here. If you come back tomorrow, I perhaps will be able to identify a little more for you."
Well, I'm very sorry, but that will not do. I will just have to manage with what you have uncovered so far. I unfortunately don't know if I will be in town tomorrow, as I have some prior arrangements with your lord. And also, that book of yours that I shared with you, it's actually kind of a personal possession of mine, and I don't feel comfortable lending it out.
Well, fair enough. As far as I can tell, referencing a few different pages, it's only been a little bit of time. I'd need a lot more to discern much, but it seems I've counted at least 3 languages here. Unsure of what they are, though.
Okay, 3 languages. All right. Thank you very much for your assistance. You've been a great help, and I must say I really enjoyed my time here, despite the chaos that I might have caused. Why don't we, there's a party tonight. I don't know if you're doing anything, but maybe you just want to come with me as maybe a +1. It would be interesting to talk more to you.
Give me a a straight charisma roll.
10.
Right down the middle. So you see, she's sort of like, well, I will already be in attendance to the feast tonight as a member of the Lord's house. So I shall see you there.
Wonderful. That sounds great.
Well, thank you for cleaning up the mess. You may have caused it, but I appreciate you not abandoning and taking your time to clean.
And I look forward to seeing you tonight.
I shall see you tonight. And with that, you can exit out. I'd say by this point, it's quite later in the morning. And Scarlet and Cal are quite close to returning. But I'd like to check in with Curon before they get back.
What do you mean? Only an hour's passed. Not that I wanted to do anything. I'm gonna kill time.
So, at this, Curon walks out into the guard room, and looks at the two guards and goes, do either of you have a way to get that mask off him? It's a little hard to speak with him.
They sort of look up to you and they just say, I'm afraid not. The keys are with the keymaster there. When he gets back, perhaps with the Lord's permission, since that is what you came down here with, he will, perhaps we can, I get. They sort of look into the room, and you see they get kind of scared at this point. The one not talking is kind of like, the other one's like, rather than you not take it off, he's a scary bloke.
Oh, yes, no, he is very scary and very powerful. However, I have plenty of anti-magic precautions for that. Should he attempt anything, I can easily out-magic him if you will.
Well, I guess when the Keymaster gets back, we can see.
Of course, of course. Until then, do you mind if I join you?
You won't play cards with us?
Oh, yes, I don't know how, but if you wouldn't mind teaching me.
Okay, sure. So I'm not going to teach you a card game right now. But I would say they are like betting, and if you'd like to bet a few rounds, we can just do a quick few rolls to see if you win any money.
Three Dragon Ante?
Yes, sure, that works.
I wasn't prepared to play some cards. It should have been with cards playing cards. But
You should always be prepared. You're the one that had them playing cards, not dice or something. That's a little easier.
Dungeon Dice Monster.
Right. They're just rolling d20s.
Dice Monster.
It's
All right,
not
all right.
you.
So it's a fairly simple game. You're gonna roll 3 d6s. I'm gonna say we'll just do one round, general ante, and then a second bet. They both put in 2 pieces of silver.
I meet their 2 pieces.
Okay. So go ahead and roll 3 d6s.
Ow.
2 3s and a 4.
All right. So you can bet again to re-roll or redraw cards for as many as you want.
What am I trying to get to?
You're trying to get pairs, essentially.
Oh, pairs? I already got a pair.
Or you could try to get another third pair.
Okay, so I put another silver in to re-roll or redraw.
3 5s.
Ooh, it's a 1. I'll just stick with my 2 3s.
2 3s, okay. So one of the guards puts a silver in to re-roll 1. The other guard actually puts 3 silver in. So the pot's currently at... you put 1 in, right?
Yes.
So the pot's currently at 11 silver.
Okay.
Some high risk friendly game here.
Yeah.
If only the economy made any sense.
Nothing makes sense in D&D. All right, so then you show them. Show your cards, your 2 3s and your
Yeah.
5. One of the guards has 2 6s. Takes the pot.
Oil.
Hey, you're a fun bloke to play with. And at that, you see the Keymaster comes down. And he's alone. He doesn't have the Lord with him. He just says, I was not able to find the Lord. Seems to have scurried off as soon as he yelled down.
Well, he is a busy man after all. Like you said, busy getting prepared. Speaking of which, I did not realize that you would have the Archdruid Muffled. Would you mind unlocking that thing for me so I may speak with him?
It's quite dangerous, but you see one of the other ones. He says he's got some magic that'll protect us.
Indeed.
Roll persuasion with advantage.
Uh, 16.
Okay. So he sort of looks back at you, and he's very nervous about it. But you see, he sort of reaches out for his keys. Says, "You two ready? Only for a moment.
Of course.
Just 1, 2 questions. That's it.
Oh. How about 3?
Fine. 3 questions, and that's it. You ask 3 questions.
Okay.
We're locking him back in.
What if one question leads to another question? Does that count? Or
That's
do I
2 questions.
Okay.
uh,
As Kieran follows him in, he's going to prepare the silence spell to be cast once he believes the Archdruid is attempting to speak magic, if you will.
okay. So you're holding the silent spell for any sign of incantation.
Correctamundo.
Easy enough. So they open the cell. The 2 guards draw their weapons, and they're just sort of at the ready. The Archdruid just sort of still standing there, very super frightened. The Keymaster sort of takes off the mask, pulls it around, and the Archdruid. Oh, thank you.
Oh, I don't know if you want to thank me just yet.
Well, I will be the judge of that.
Archdruid Orlin, is it? Orlan? Olin?
he doesn't respond, and the guard says, "I'll let you have that one."
Right, sorry. I'll make these count.
But the Archdruid just sort of smiles back at you. He doesn't really answer that question. He's not interested in talking and answering stupid questions. Not stupid questions, but he thinks it's a stupid question.
What were you attempting? The sacrifices?
The tree must be watered with blood. Only blood will bring our father back. Only blood will... Only blood.
You say only blood will bring back your ash.
Yes. That is what I have seen.
How did you come to know of this information?
Oh, well, I've heard the voice of the Ash Keeper call out to me. I was meditating, praying to the font mother Francis, guide my people. And I heard it so clearly. You begged for help. You understand. You're faithful. I see it in you. You would do anything for your God. Anything.
What does the pallid mask mean?
It is what I see. My visions. Just. No! Pleasant country village tunes. It is what I see when he speaks to me. I see a mask of ashwood, pale, eyes, no mouth, and I hear his voice, his pained, struggled voice. Blood is what he seeks, needs to stop it, to bring him back. You see his eyes kind of going wide, just sort of like he hasn't spoken in all day and for the night, and he looks a bit haggard. And the guard just, one more question. I say we got to lock him back up.
Kieran holds up the ring and goes, "Can I get two, just real quick? I can't take this ring off, and I'd really like to know what it is."
As a simple trinket, cursed ring. You won't be able to.
Cursed in what way exactly?
Well, it's just a little thing I've worked on. You're cursed. And it's that you see they start to take the chains to put back over his mouth.
Wait, one more question, please.
Quickly, now.
The mushroom zombies, what the fuck is that all about? By Ilyuvania, that's disgusting. You would turn your own into these monstrosities.
The pallid mask. Pallid mask gives us strength. Strength to transcend. You should know about that.
I don't. What do you mean? Damn it, I need more time with him.
I can't give you more.
Insufferable. And at this, Kieran storms out. He thought about issuing command, but since there's 3 of him, he couldn't quite get them all and decided that wouldn't be the best idea.
Okay.
Just wanted to let everyone know what was going on in Kieran's head. 2, that's fine, but a 3rd throws a wrench.
Yeah.
So with that, Kieran marches up the stairs and would return to the library to poke his head in and see what's going on. Has it been an hour?
Yeah.
Okay. To poke his head in and see what Wiswick is up to.
You catch sort of the end of the conversation between the librarian and Wiswick, where he asks her to the feast.
So, is the door like ajar, and like I'm just hearing this as I'm like at the door, and like
Yes.
I stifle a laugh as I hear this.
Yeah, smooth moves.
Something like that. With the, so Kieran would just like kind of position himself next to the door, like not being like super stealthy, but like being a little innocuous, so that if Wiswick walks out, he can kind of be like, "Hey."
Hey.
And that's exactly what happens. Wiswick, after having his little conversation with the librarian, steps out and sees you there.
Trying to make some friends, are we?
yeah, you know, I get around.
Oh, good lord. Oh, by Levon.
Tim,
Anyways.
Tim,
Come
Tim,
on,
Timber,
let's
Timber's
talk
gonna
about
walk over and just shake his head like, no.
Never mind that. It's just a petty little chat. How'd you turn out? You get the goods?
Well, so I was able to speak with the Archdruid, but only for a small amount of time. The gods are very skittish around. Though I don't know why. I have a silent spell ready at any time to shut his trap.
What about that fat curse that you've got?
It's not a fat curse. He just said I'm cursed. He did not seem interested in talking about the ring for some reason. And he was rather cryptic when I asked him about the work he was doing for his ash keep.
What about the golem? Did you ask him about the golem? How
No,
he
I
made
didn't
that
ask
thing?
about the golem. I don't care, it's druid hogwash.
But I mean, it could have been a clue.
Maybe. I was more concerned about the grand picture, if you will, of why he's trying to resurrect his Ashkeeper, how he's doing it, and if there's a way someone else could do it without as much bloodshed.
Well, it looks like you didn't strike any interesting notes. I, however, came out with a plethora of knowledge that will be sure to advance our adventures. There is a magical place called... I'm pausing for emphasis. Called... the Trinwald Valley. And I believe that there might be some ruins there. Maybe some treasure hunting is in our future.
I'm sorry, where is that?
I show him a map, or I tell him where
Okay.
it is. Whatever I read.
So it's in that moment that you sort of realize, looking over the maps in like the front of the book, very token-esque, the Trinwald Valley is the encompassing lands of the Crown Lands between the several mountains that surround it. All of the Crown Lands is essentially the Trinwald Valley.
Sure, but I took the book with me, and it's got to have like some like points of interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reference map in the book for the valley itself, where it's not necessarily. You may see some ruins pointed on there throughout. But yeah, I mean, it's there's definitely like points of interest on there that are for reference as you read the book.
Yeah, so I just show him the map in the book, and I say, "Ooh, look at this one."
Very, interesting. Yes, quite.
As for our language question, we couldn't really get much out of the hour's worth of research, but we do know that it's made of 3 different languages, so if we ever come across anybody who could decipher them for us, we've limited it down to at least 3.
Interesting. Well, that's good. Always better to fill in as many blanks as possible. I mean, we still have those books we took from the Archdruid's basement. What was the one that you took again?
Yeah, that one was what I was just talking about. I have the Pallid King
The
book,
Pallid King.
and I also have the book of the Feywild.
Well, and I have the Archdruid's, or the Druid's History, and the Morseer Conflict book. I believe that with these 4 books combined, we might figure something out if we read them, and the DM tells us what we find.
Yeah, probably. I would say you would need to spend some like significant time with them. So like maybe the rest of the afternoon, and if you go on the travels, perhaps as you're traveling,
Right.
you should be able to like connect things between the books and gain enough knowledge to find something. You just need to spend some time with them.
Right. And that's what Kieran would do after that. After like kind of quick discussion with Wiswick, Kieran would return back to his room. Maybe even go into Wiswick's room with him to read the books. If that's what Wiswick wants to do. Otherwise, Kieran will read by himself.
I think that Wiswick would probably want to do those things, but maybe on the way home he would start looking for, like, he would just go for a small walk before he retires back to the inn to, I don't know if we even have a room at the inn. Would we? I guess it would be in the room of the mansion that we're in.
Yeah, you could argue. You could still go back to the rooms you were given in the Lord's Manor.
Yeah,
seems like he's giving you those rooms essentially until tomorrow morning.
Right. Yeah, Kieran wasn't in his armor. Otherwise, I would have rolled disadvantage on the stealth rolls.
Yeah, I imagined you weren't really. Yeah.
All right, so I guess there's no reason to go exploring outside of the mansion. So I'll agree with Kieran and go study for the rest of the day, or at least until the rest of them get back.
Right, and if they've got something else to do or say, then we'll decide then.
So I imagine you'll essentially study until maybe they come in to disturb you, or until the feast.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Timber would go find them. Also,
Okay. Yeah,
Timber
Timber,
leave.
you're sort of after they retire to study and cross-reference notes. Timber, you would be able to easily find Scarlet and Cal entering into the courtyard and then into the manor. They walk in.
Hello, friends. I trust you've all
I guess
had a...
you walk in and you see Timber is essentially
Oh,
approaching
sorry.
you alone. Sort of like there's occasionally a servant walking by, but Timber is just sort of strangely has free reign of the house right now. He's not accompanied by Kieran or Wiswick.
Hello, boy. How are you? I pet him like this. My hand does weird things.
Okay,
I pet him normally like a normal person.
I'll get down on my knee in front of him and just look and be like, "Are we good? You haven't talked to me this morning. You've been avoiding me this morning." Well, sure seems like it. But we're good.
yeah, Timber would, since she's bent down, he wants to put his nose in her backpack and try to grab my cloak.
I knew that's what you were gonna go for.
All right, let's just get some competing dexterity checks here to see if you can get your cloak
Good
out.
luck.
All right.
Just straight decks.
Straight dex.
As this is happening, I would like to say, your wolf really is, I would say, preternaturally intelligent. Like it doesn't quite make sense. I'm good with it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And he just shrugs.
That's his. What'd you get?
I got a 17.
Oh, damn it, I got a 10.
Yes!
So, Cal, before you step away, you just see Timber just like rip a whole cloak. And it's a nice looking cloak. It's got. I gotta look up like what exactly the description of that cloak
Oh,
is.
I can tell you the description of that cloak.
Tell
It's
me
a-
the description of the cloak that you just ripped out of her
So
bag.
it's a sylvan cloak, and it will keep you warm in any climate. It's luxurious lining of white fur. It's got red Celtic knots of embroidery along the outside, and it's a purple cloak. It's a purple cloak on the outside, and then inside it's also red.
It's very nice. It's very well made.
Yes. And Timber's gonna rip it out.
I just packed all of it.
And then he's gonna with the cloak in his mouth, he's gonna look at Scarlet and then
Great.
Okay, so I feel like just Cal just keeps seeing weird things. So you just see they're both staring at each other, somewhat peeved, as Timber just has the cloak in his mouth. And just saw a dog steal a cloak from his master.
I'm gonna go put my packages down.
All right. Thank you for your company this morning.
And you. I had a lovely time. as I walk away.
So at this point, you're all just sort of seeing servants are beginning to pass through the quarters, bringing different, starting to decorate and starting to bring out different things. They're getting ready for the feast that's going to happen several hours from now. You really just have downtime at this point where you're going to relax before going to the feast. It's getting fairly late right now, so I think we're going to wait to do the feast in the next session. So the day has gone through. You've acquired your finery for the feast later tonight. Curon and Wiswick are hard at study over the texts they have over the next 4 or 5 or 6 or so hours before the feast begins. Timber has his lovely cloak. And you've discovered some things. You've gotten your chance to speak. You've gotten your prize, and you know the decisions you need to make later. Certainly the feast will have plenty of folk to talk to, and plenty of interesting figures to find more information about. And perhaps you can even speak to the Lord as he's imbibing. And then you have a decision to make on what your next step is, if you would decide to go with the Lord or perhaps find another way, another journey to embark on. But with that, we're going to end tonight since it's almost 11. Thank you all who stuck out with us through to 11, and those who maybe joined late, thank you for jumping in. Please join us again next week. You can watch some of the playbacks on Twitch. We have them available, and share it with your friends, and we look forward to sharing in this journey with you further. Thank you. Have a great night.
Or don't.
If you're watching this on YouTube and you stuck around this long, comment monkey bread down below.
Yeah. You heard it from Cal himself, monkey bread.
Are those the magic words for the bell?
Yes.
Yo quiero magic bell.
And
Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
All next week at 7 p.m.
Bye.